Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 41. Xiao Chen kept forming seals with his hands, making mysterious seals of life and death. Bits of light flashed out, and then became brighter and brighter, as bright as stars. Finally, with the wave of both hands, a bright star rose into the sky, like a starry sky suddenly covering the forest. Kaio, who jumped down, obviously felt the threat of death. After a roar, blue and yellow rays of light erupted from his body, and he vaguely saw a giant wolf and a fierce tiger appearing beside him, and let out two extremely dull roars. The two looming ferocious beasts, mysterious and ferocious, opened their huge mouths and swallowed the mysterious star map. Xiao Chen was a little surprised. The legend was indeed true. There are ancient beast souls sealed in the bodies of some strong barbarians. They have amazing potential. The 3-meter-tall barbarian young strongman Kaio landed in the forest. His long brown hair was scattered over his shoulders, and his eyes were full of beastly light. At this moment, he was like an extremely terrifying beast king, exuding an extremely powerful and fierce aura. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. I've ignored you all this time. I think it's not just me, Yan Qingcheng and Rand must be like this too. Speaking of this, Kaio uttered a deep beast roar. People like you are very dangerous, why don't we kill you completely today? At this moment, he couldn't tell whether he was a beast or a human, and rushed towards Xiao Chen with a roar. I can't bear it, I don't need to bear it anymore. Xiao Chen's aura climbed to the peak, leaving an afterimage on the spot, and erupted with an overwhelming aura, facing the barbarian young strong Kaio. With unparalleled explosive power, the nearby forests were shaken and shattered. Without any tricks, the barbarian, who was directly known for its strength and power, shook it hard. There was a loud boom, and the gorgeous and incomparable light rushed out like a huge wave, colliding with the ancient beast spirit wolf and fierce tiger that rushed out of Kaio's body. A majestic force burst out, and the dazzling light swept away in all directions like rolling waves. Amidst the rumbling sound, a large area of trees collapsed, and the fallen leaves danced wildly. The giant trees farther away continued to fall. It seemed that there were ancient savage beasts fighting here, directly destroying a small piece of woodland. The berserk breath permeated the four directions, and the barbarian young strongman, Kaio, who was famous for his mighty strength, flew out of his body uncontrollably. The 3-meter-high strong physique, emitting a bluish-yellow light, broke rows of giant trees with impact. He was blown away by pure energy. There seemed to be raging flames burning outside Xiao Chen's body. At this moment, he looked like a tyrannical barbarian. His eyes shone with wild light, and his long black hair was windless. He strode forward. With every step, the forest trembled, as if a giant was moving. The forest was surprisingly quiet at this moment. All the beasts stopped roaring, only the shocking footsteps of the wild Xiao Chen. In the distant forest, 7 or 8 cultivators concealed were shocked. No one knew how terrifying Kaio was better than them. Not long ago, they saw with their own eyes that Kaio tore apart the bodies of cultivators one after another, just like an invincible beast. However, at this moment, he was suppressed by a young man purely with strength, and he was violently blasted away. This is really unbelievable. You must know that the way of tyrant's power is the strongest point of the barbarians. At this moment, several cultivators watching the battle from a distance deeply engraved Xiao Chen's domineering figure into the depths of his mind. This is a wild and terrifying young strongman. Roar. Kaio was irritated, roaring like a wounded beast, and finally controlled his body and landed on the ground. Everything just now was a shame to him, and he was actually restrained by force. With an incomparably ferocious aura, he rushed towards the young opponent in front, and the terrifying blue-yellow light swept across all obstacles. The huge divine wolf and ferocious tiger became clearer and clearer, accompanying him and rushing forward together. Bursts of tragic evil spirit filled the 4 fields. Roar. Xiao Chen also let out a low growl. His tall and straight figure was casted like steel, giving people an invincible sense of strength, and his long black hair fluttered wildly. The hands waved brilliant rays of light one after another, and the terrifying energy rushed wildly, like the raging sea roaring. This time, the two young masters moved as fast as lightning, leaving afterimages in the woodland. The tyrannical and powerful energy storm shattered forests one after another. It was as if they had encountered a terrifying frenzied lightning strike. The sky was full of flying broken branches and leaves, and all the trees burst into pieces under the dazzling light. The terrifying fluctuations are violently surging, and the dazzling light is extremely terrifying. In the distance, the cultivators watching the battle paled in horror. This kind of battle is so fierce that they think they can't match it at all. Roar! The 3-meter-tall Kaio roared angrily. In the fierce battle, when he swept across Xiao Chen's chest and abdomen with his invincible long legs, he was firmly grasped by Xiao Chen's hands. Xiao Chen firmly held onto Kaio's right leg, not giving him any chance to struggle, and swung him violently like a scarecrow. Click! Amid the sound of the giant tree being broken, Kaio was swung like a giant stick, chopping off a towering ancient tree, and then Xiao Chen seemed to go crazy, just like this, taking turns to drive the 3-meter-high Kaio, dancing wildly in the forest, chopping back and forth. Amidst the loud noise of rumbling, huge trees kept falling down and ancient trees were constantly crumbling. Xiao Chen used Xiao Chen as a humanoid weapon for Kaio. This is an extremely wild scene. The cultivators in the distance couldn't believe their eyes. At this moment they positioned Xiao Chen as a more dangerous beast than Kaio. It was too violent and violent. Chapter 42. Everything was done on purpose by Xiao Chen. It's not that he doesn't understand subtle moves, but if he wants to completely overwhelm this barbarian master in terms of momentum, he must use the strength the opponent is best at to suppress the opponent. Even if he can't kill the opponent, he will definitely leave an indelible shadow in the opponent's heart. There is no need to be kind to the enemy, but to defeat him spiritually and forever. Xiao Chen really wanted to shatter Kaio. He didn't want to leave a big trouble for himself. Since he has become an enemy, for his future safety, the most effective way is to directly kill him completely. However, the ancient beast spirit god wolf and fierce tigers surrounding Kaio kept roaring, bursting out bursts of terrifying fluctuations. They were like unbreakable armor, protecting Kaio's body, and a majestic force kept rushing to Kaio's right leg, trying to shake Xiao Chen's hands away. During the fierce battle between Xiao Chen and Kaio, Arod, a young strong man from the forest tribe who was hundreds of meters away, also experienced a battle. A master in a faint light blocked his way at the most critical moment and prevented him from rescuing Kaio, obviously wanting to use Xiao Chen's hand to kill him. It was a mysterious curse master, who kept attacking and killing Arod, until Kaio was completely in the most dangerous situation, and Arod wounded his opponent and rushed over. However, he himself was slightly injured. The endless vines and trees quickly stretched out in the forest, rolling towards Xiao Chen like a green angry wave. The 3 skeletons who had been watching the battle next to them turned into 3 white lights and rushed towards Arod when they saw someone rushing to join the battle. The terrifying thorns, as well as the tough vines, made Xiao Chen in trouble for a while, but he was not afraid, and directly used the body of the strong barbarian Kaio as a weapon, and threw at the thorns and vines. The thorns retreated, and the vines surged wildly, submerging Kaio's body. Green rays of light emanated from the vines, containing endless spiritual power, which originated from Arod's power. The combination of Yalad's and Kaio's strength finally forced Xiao Chen to let go of his hands. Of course, when he let go, Xiao Chen smashed a piece of vine with great force, making Kaio's body come into the most intimate contact with the hard ground, causing the forest to tremble violently. Kaio was saved, and he didn't rush up recklessly, and retreated quickly with the vines. On the other side, the 3 skeletons rushed towards Arod. Just now, most of Arod's spiritual power was sent to the vines on Xiao Chen's side. During this process, the 3 skeletons almost injured him. King Qin Guang, King Yan Luo, and King Reincarnation all played out the dark underworld fire, destroying most of the vegetation for defense with a terrible yin fire. Now that all the spiritual power had returned, Arod finally calmly trapped the 3 skeletons. However, at this time, Xiao Chen came over, and Yalad had to retreat quickly and joined Kaio. There was a short period of calm. The 2 sides confronted each other in the forest, and the spectators in the distance all held their breath and watched nervously. Kaio growled angrily in a low voice, and his eyes glowed with faint green light. This is the awakening of animal nature. He felt a great humiliation today, and his self-esteem was seriously hit. However, Yalad stopped him, and said in a low voice, "We underestimated him too much, it really is a lesson. We can't fight with him anymore. Someone in the dark is watching us, and someone blocked me just now, so I couldn't rescue you as soon as possible. Now, we are already injured, and we must not make the injury worse because of the fierce battle with him, otherwise the people in the dark may attack us. Today, let's retreat for now. Xiao Chen joined the three skeletons together, facing the two strong young men in front of him. He knew that he had no chance of winning. After all, the two of them were not weaker than him, but his three skeleton partners were not that strong. He was not afraid of them one-on-one, but it would be dangerous if they fought in melee. At this moment, Xiao Chen's violent aura gradually subsided, and he stood there silently, his tall and straight body gradually exuding an ethereal and elegant aura. Arid's complexion changed slightly. It was obvious that the opponent was not only powerful, but judging from the aura he was emitting now, powerful was just a manifestation of his strong side. Let's put aside today's matter for now. After Yulad said this, he pulled the unwilling Kaio away quickly. Xiao Chen didn't speak, and watched the other party go away calmly. People don't offend me and I don't offend others, but if people bully me, they will definitely give the strongest counterattack. This is his survival criterion. This battle completely overturned Xiao Chen's cognition in the hearts of Kaio and Yared. They really did not expect this opponent to be so tyrannical. Kaio felt that his self-esteem was seriously trampled while being angry. Never underestimate the enemy. This is Yaro's somewhat annoyed conclusion, and at the same time maliciously hope that Yan Qingcheng and Rand will make the same mistake again. Xiao Chen stood quietly for a long time, until all the prying eyes in the dark disappeared. He took a deep breath, suffered some minor injuries, but it doesn't matter, now his vitality is strong, and he will recover soon. Using hegemony to control hegemony is a real confrontation with strength. If it wasn't for the fact that Zongding Acupoint had not been deified, and the cultivation base had improved a lot, this time it might be dangerous. After a short rest, Xiao Chen and the three skeletons continued to move forward. After walking hundreds of meters, he finally knew why Yulad came late and failed to rescue Kaio in time. In this area, he found traces of a fierce battle between Arid and others. Another master is lurking nearby, trying to use his hands to get rid of Kaio. Xiao Chen couldn't help frowning slightly. The situation on Long Island became more and more complicated. Obviously the real chaotic killing had already begun. The strong survive and the weak perish. This will be the law of survival on Dragon Island. The mountains were undulating. After Xiao Chen and the three skeletons climbed over a low mountain, a valley appeared in front of them. There were obviously fewer traces of wild animals here, and the surroundings gradually became quieter. Xiao Chen began to pay attention to the surrounding environment. After all, the scarlet demon ape didn't want to approach this area, which meant it must be dangerous. Sure enough, in front of the valley, he found many huge footprints, 1 meter long. Chapter 43 Treant. There are many huge footprints in front of the valley, 1 meter long. Moreover, the shape of the footprints is almost the same as that of humans. Could it be a giant? When he was in the human world, he had heard such legends that some ancient survivors were extremely tall, as if they were giants. This is probably the reason why the scarlet demon ape is unwilling to come, and it should have something to do with the giant here. It's just, could it be said that Zhao Lin'er lived in the giant's area? Xiao Chen and the three skeletons proceeded cautiously, wanting to see what happened. The valley is green and lush, and there are many towering ancient trees standing in the distance. The mouth of the valley is not very wide, but only more than 10 meters wide. Xiao Chen saw many deep imprints at the entrance of the valley. The large footprints more than 1 meter long were really shocking. He vaguely felt that danger was approaching. He and the three skeletons stopped cautiously at the entrance of the valley. Looking in from the mouth of the valley, it is very peaceful and calm. The birds are singing, the flowers are colorful, and the fragrance is moving with the wind. There is also a small stream of spring water flowing among the vegetation, which is as clear and thorough as a jade belt. There are no evil beasts in this place, and it can be regarded as a peaceful and pure land. However, facing such a peaceful place, Xiao Chen suddenly felt that a great danger was about to come, and he quickly ran back with the three skeletons. No matter whether the feeling was accurate or not, he had to escape here first. They had just rushed out of the mouth of the valley when they heard a loud bang, and several boulders rolled down from the valley walls on both sides of the valley mouth, rumbling like tens of thousands of horses galloping, and the valley walls trembled for a while. At the same time, a cyan giant with a height of 8 or 9 meters landed heavily on the valley entrance after stepping on a huge boulder. The ground trembled violently, and huge cracks burst open one after another. If Xiao Chen and the others had delayed for a while, they would have been smashed to pieces by now. A cyan giant 8 or 9 meters tall. Xiao Chen was very surprised and turned around to watch. And at this moment, he saw an even more unbelievable picture. On the valley wall, a towering ancient tree underwent incredible changes in an instant. The huge branches were shaking constantly, the green branches and leaves made a cracking sound, and the vigorous rhizomes like horned dragons were quickly pulled out of the soil layer. The whole ancient tree bloomed with a brilliant green light, and a series of strange changes took place in the tree body in an instant. The branches are shrinking rapidly, and the rhizomes are also deforming rapidly. Under the incomparably gorgeous green light, the towering ancient tree is actually shrinking, and then turned into a blue giant. Amidst the loud bang, he landed at the entrance of the valley, and stood side by side with the giants who jumped down earlier. The two cyan giants were 8 or 9 meters tall, with a faint green brilliance flowing around them, giving people a strong sense of oppression. This is simply unbelievable. The vigorous ancient trees tens of meters high, originally rooted on the valley wall like giant umbrellas covering the sky, how did they turn into blue giants now? Tree ants. Is this a successful tree demon? Xiao Chen didn't know, and he didn't have time to think about it. 2 green tree ants were striding towards him. At the same time, on the cliff above the valley, a beautiful figure appeared. It was Zhao Liner, who was all over the world, and there was a tree man standing beside her. How is this going? She was actually with the mysterious tree man. Xiao Chen couldn't bear to think too much, he fled quickly with the 3 skeletons. Don't let him run away. Zhao Liner was dressed in white clothes better than snow, she was unparalleled in beauty, and her peerless demeanor standing on the cliff really made people suspect that the 9 heavens fairy descended from the mortal world. Boom boom boom. The 8 or 9 meter high cyan giant ran like the wind and weighed as much as a mountain. When he stepped on the ground, it was like a giant hammer being hammered, and the ground shook violently. At the same time, Zhao Liner, the royal goddess on the cliff, had already spun onto the shoulder of the tree man beside her. The tree man jumped down the cliff nimbly, with a faint green light emitting from his body. After the other 2 giants, he quickly chased after Xiao Chen. The 3 behemoths were chasing after him, which made Xiao Chen feel a strong sense of oppression, and transformed into 4 lights and shadows with the 3 skeletons, and rushed quickly between the mountains and forests. The primeval forest was very dense. Although the 3 green tree ants were running like the wind and striding wide, they were constantly blocked by the forest, and it was difficult for them to catch up with Xiao Chen. Zhao Liner stood on the tree man's shoulders, her figure was clear and beautiful, and her eyes were shining brightly. She had been waiting here for Xiao Chen for a long time, and she knew that he would find this place, and today finally came the time to fight back. She is fortunate to have won the favor of the little Pegasus. This young holy beast is the darling of nature, and has a good relationship with the strange tree man in the Tree Man Valley, so she also gained the tree man's friendship. Although there are only a few tree people, each tree person is infinitely powerful and evolved from ancient trees that have been around for nearly 10,000 years. They are spiritual creatures bred by nature. Except for the oldest tree ant, the other tree ants seemed to have just opened their minds, and their brains were not bright yet. With the help of the little unicorn holy beast, Zhao Liner easily gained their support. Xiao Chen, you wouldn't have thought of today's changes, would you? The winner is the one who laughs last. Although Zhao Liner's voice was beautiful, her words revealed a murderous intent at the moment. HMPH, laugh when you catch me. Maybe one day you, the high and mighty royal maiden, will become my slave girl. Zhao Liner's expression was calm and she didn't get angry. She ordered 3 tree men to surround Xiao Chen. Clatter. The trees shook, and the 3 tree men ran quickly in the forest, separating patches of dense old forest. A faint green brilliance flowed from their bodies, which was a natural force that helped them push away the blocking giant tree branches. The sound of the tree man running was extremely loud, and the forest trembled slightly. The startled wild beasts ran wildly, and then a few wild beasts rushed out. After seeing 3 giants with a height of 8 or 9 meters, they all stopped in their tracks. But at this time, the bang alarmed the cultivators in this area. Many people heard the sound and flew to the crown of the giant tree, or climbed the cliffs of the mountains, etc., and gazed here. Chapter 44 The Mysterious Little Beast. Seeing 3 blue-green giants from a distance made those cultivators all look surprised. Especially when they saw Xiao Chen being hunted down, some practitioners paid more attention to the battle between Xiao Chen and Kaiao. At the same time, Zhao Liner was magnificent, standing on the shoulders of the green tree man, she couldn't help but attract attention. For a while, all the cultivators in the nearby area followed their shadows and paid attention to the development of the situation. Now on the Dragon Island, many cultivators have landed one after another. They all came for the ancestor dragon and the companion dragon king. There have been many battles and many cultivators have died. The giant tree ants' participation in the battle, and the cross-regional hunting battle was the most powerful one among them. It gradually alarmed most of the cultivators in the outer areas of the island, and many people were paying attention. Many people have thought about getting close to Zhao Linner. They were able to guess the origin of the tree man. It must have been born on Long Island if it was not a 10,000-year-old tree. If they win over Zhao Linner, not only will they be able to obtain a peerless beauty, but they will also gain unimaginable combat power. In front of the misty waterfall, Yan Qingcheng's figure was like a dream. Standing on the cliff, she frowned slightly as she watched the giants running past. Rand, a handsome blonde man, also showed surprise, and said, "There are tree ants on Dragon Island. It takes thousands of years of ancient trees. They are the crystallization of nature. Arod is a member of the forest tribe. If he can subdue a tree ant, his strength will greatly increase and he will surpass us." While they were paying attention to this matter, Yarrow and the strong young barbarian Kaio were also watching all this on a mountain not far away. Arod was extremely excited, and his voice trembled. It turned out to be a tree ant transformed from a 10,000-year-old tree, and there were 3 of them at once. Although Xiao Chen's cultivation has broken through the original realm, facing the 3 behemoths at this moment, he still feels headaches. He has been separated from the 3 undead creatures, but under Zhao Linner's command, all the tree ants chased him down. Up to now, they have climbed over more than a dozen mountain ranges in a row, alarming many ferocious birds and beasts, but the 3 cyan tree ants followed like a shadow, unable to get rid of it at all, and they were actually outflanked by them. Boom! A giant foot trampled on the trees, with light green light flowing, and stepped towards him violently. Xiao Chen left an afterimage on the spot, and quickly dodged away. The giant foot stomped on the ground, and cracks appeared in the ground, and the nearby trees shook wildly. Afterwards, several giant arms swept over, and the green light emitted was extremely dazzling. This is the natural power of the tree man circulating. The arms seemed to be cast from steel. Booming, swept away a large row of giant trees, and the broken trees almost drowned Xiao Chen. The 6 giant hands grabbed at him together, cold sweat broke out on Xiao Chen's back, and he shifted continuously, his body seemed to be burning, and gorgeous light burst out, like dancing divine flames, leaving afterimages in the forest, avoiding the giant tree man. The cultivators who were secretly paying attention here were all shocked. The tree ant was really scary, and they were all secretly surprised. "Xiao Chen, let me see how you escape." The royal goddess stood on the shoulders of a tree man, a smile gradually bloomed on her beautiful face, which made the flowers in the mountains and forest suddenly eclipse. A giant's green arm was shining brightly, and the giant hand swept across all obstacles. After chopping 7 or 8 giant trees in a row, it finally covered Xiao Chen in front of him, making him no longer able to retreat. Boom! The giant turquoise palm, which was taller than half of Xiao Chen's body, swung forward violently. Unable to dodge, Xiao Chen could only increase his strength to the limit, and took the palm bravely. Swiping his hands again and again, the mysterious and miraculous seals were shot out one after another. In the brilliant light, a gorgeous map of stars appeared in front of Xiao Chen, like an ancient and mysterious shield, helping him resist the powerful slashing of the giant palm. The giant emerald palm with dazzling light smashed on the star map with a bang, the light curtain in front of Xiao Chen shattered, and the stars dimmed one by one. Xiao Chen was sent flying by a strong force. Amidst the sound of trees crumbling, Xiao Chen's body shone with an extremely bright light. He smashed through more than a dozen towering ancient trees in succession, and fell among the broken branches and leaves. He felt the pain of Kaio now, and Kaio had been bombarded so fiercely by him before. Unexpectedly, he himself experienced this feeling not long after. Boom! A big foot stepped on Xiao Chen's side. If he didn't roll quickly enough, he might be trampled into meat sauce. Xiao Chen jumped up quickly, and a bright light erupted from his body. When he couldn't avoid it, he could only confront the tree man. However, the tree people are not simply tall, they can also use the power of nature. Every time they confront each other, they burst out with brilliant green light. Xiao Chen feels as if he has hit a huge mountain. The powerful impact makes him feel extremely painful every time. Even though his vital energy was strong and turned into a substantial divine flame, burning blazingly outside his body, he still couldn't resist the violent bombardment of the tree man. After all, the tree man was too huge. Xiao Chen was constantly being split and flew in the forest, smashing row after row of giant trees. Facing the giant tree ant, he felt powerless. A river in front of him flows through the primitive old forest. Xiao Chen seemed to see hope, so he confronted the tree man a few more times, and fled to that river desperately. "Stop him, stop him!" Zhao Linner hurriedly shouted. "The mountains and forests are too dense. Although the river is wide, it is very gentle and there is no sound of flowing water, so it was not noticed beforehand. This wide river is a life-saving river for Xiao Chen. Without any hesitation, he jumped into it with a plop, leaving a few splashes on the water surface and disappearing. Things are always unpredictable. Zhao Liner feels extremely frustrated. She is already in sight of victory, and she doesn't want to fall short in the end. She really wanted to chase down the river, but after seeing the surrounding terrain, she didn't dare to let the tree ant go any further. Before he knew it, he had already reached the edge of the Tyrannosaurus's territory. That was a violent king. Not to mention the 3 tree ants, even if there were several times, he would be torn apart by the Tyrannosaurus in an instant. The Tyrannosaurus is one of the most ferocious royal families in the dragon family, and it is known as a powerful dragon species that can fight against the gods. It took less than half an hour for Xiao Chen to come out of the water when the waves swelled, with traces of blood spilling from the corners of his mouth. The 89-meter-tall tree was so powerful that he was seriously injured. In the past half an hour, he did not swim along the river. When he entered the water, he sneaked up against the current for tens of meters, and then remained lurking in the water without moving. Struggling to climb up the river bank, and staggering out for more than 10 meters, Xiao Chen sat on the ground with a plop, then lay on his back among the grass and took a deep breath of fresh air. Suddenly, he felt a dangerous atmosphere, as if someone was peeping in the dark. Xiao Chen immediately stood up, and the strong vitality of life surged out like a divine fire. The dazzling light evaporated his clothes in an instant, and his whole body seemed to be covered with a layer of shining armor, like a dragon and a tiger. He clearly understood that the number of cultivators entering Dragon Island has increased a lot, so many people must have secretly followed the process of the cyan giant chasing and killing him just now, and now the people nearby may want to take action against him, wanting to reduce a powerful competitor. He had no choice but to show a strong aura to warn. Sure enough, the danger of peeping seems to have decreased a lot. But someone was still staring at him, and he could feel the icy light like a poisonous snake shooting from the forest behind him. Some seemed convinced he was badly wounded and saw this as a chance to get rid of him. In the current Dragon Island, the strong survive and the weak perish. It is very cruel. Xiao Chen restrained the bright light outside his body, otherwise he would only make the masters think he was guilty, so he walked towards the Tyrannosaurus territory without haste. Sure enough, someone was following. The murderous intent is approaching. It seems that a master has locked him firmly. The danger is getting closer and closer, and the people in the dark are about to make a move. This is definitely a strong man, and I'm afraid there will be a thunderous attack next. Xiao Chen frowned. His current physical condition was very bad. He was bombarded by an 8 or 9 meter high cyan giant. Even the body of King Kong might not be able to hold on. If there was another big battle, it would be a nightmare for him. Roar! A tiger roared, and 3 familiar shadows appeared in front of it. King Qin Guang, King Yama, and King Samsara tore apart a giant tiger blocking the way, turning it into 3 white lights and rushing here. At this moment, in Xiao Chen's eyes, the 3 snow-white skeletons were no longer skeletons but 3 angels. They came too timely. Secretly locked onto Xiao Chen's dangerous aura, he hesitated for a while and then quickly faded away. If the 3 skeletons hadn't arrived in time, it would have been a false alarm. Xiao Chen finally relaxed completely, but he couldn't stop now. He and the 3 skeletons walked along the river to the Tyrannosaurus territory ahead. If you want to go to the Death Swamp, you must first pass through this area, and this is the territory of the tyrannical king, and ordinary cultivators dare not approach it. After going 2 miles deep, Xiao Chen no longer worried about the invasion of savage beasts, and no longer worried about the sneak attack of cultivators, except to guard against the possible Tyrannosaurus. After finding a safe and remote place, Xiao Chen suddenly lay down in the grass. He was too exhausted, and his whole body was in severe pain. For a full half an hour, he didn't move, and silently performed the profound arts to heal the wounded body and restore vitality. The light-like water waves flowed slowly, covering his body. Finally, Xiao Chen enjoyed the service of the 3 skeletons. King Qin Guang, King Yama, and King Samsara carried Xiao Chen quickly through the mountains and forests, heading towards the swamp. A few cultivators saw this strange scene. Among them, the cultivators who didn't know much about undead creatures really felt like a ghost. 3 snow-white skeletons actually carried a man to run away. There are also people who want to follow, but the distance is very far, and the original old forest is too dense, and the skeleton disappears after a few flashes. Although Xiao Chen was being carried by 3 skeletons, he was always paying attention to the movement around him. When he was approaching the swamp, he accidentally saw a little furry guy. Even if some people stand in the crowd, they will look different and attract everyone's attention. This situation is also applicable to animals. A little furry guy, like a pure white snowball, exudes an indescribable spirituality. Like a little tiger, like a little lion, more like a kitten, but much more beautiful than them all, fluffy white long hair, snow white and soft, spotless white, at the same time as bright as silk, shining with milky white brilliance. It is only half a foot long, but it is full of spirituality. A pair of big eyes are as bright as black gemstones, forming a sharp contrast with the snow-white body. Every time it blinks, it is sparkling and full of aura. At this moment, it is crouching on the ground, unexpectedly very humane, with a pair of bright big eyes, looking at Xiao Chen pitifully, with a small snow-white paw on its mouth. It seems to be sucking, like a starving child. Xiao Chen doesn't know what kind of beast it is, but it must be a little guy full of wisdom. It gives people a very special feeling. Although it looks like a cute little beast, it is full of spirituality, like an elf. Fortunately, Xiao Chen is a man. If it was a woman, I'm afraid she couldn't help rushing over to hug her. This spiritual little guy is so cute. Yeah. The voice made by the little guy was not like a beast at all, like a baby learning to speak. He kept babbling, and looked at him pitifully. Although Xiao Chen's heart was tenacious, his heart seemed to be slightly touched. He decided to get some food for this little guy, and he could even keep him by his side temporarily. However, at this moment, the three skeletons suddenly seemed to have seen a ghost, and before Xiao Chen could understand what was going on, they let go together, and with a plop, they fell straight to the ground. Unprepared, Xiao Chen was thrown solidly, and a few hard stones were just under his body, and he jumped up immediately in pain. At this moment, Xiao Chen had the urge to tear down the three skulls. At this time, King Qin Guang, King Yama, and King Reincarnation rushed into the swamp in a panic, and then separated, lying straight on the pile of bones, motionless, and even started to pretend to be dead. Chapter 45 Unbelievable. Xiao Chen picked up the little guy on the ground who was like a melting ball of snow. The pitiful little guy's big eyes fluttered, and he didn't resist at all. Xiao Chen walked into the swamp with the little furry guy in his arms, looking suspiciously at the three straight skeletons. What happened to them? What are they afraid of? But there is no other vicious thing in front of him. Could it be this little snowball full of spirituality? How can this be? Ignoring them, Xiao Chen rushed to watch the little sacred tree. After being ambushed by the royal goddess Zhao Liner, the reason why he returned here was mainly because the sacred seedlings were still rooted here. The small palm-high holy tree was filled with rays of light and mist, making the surrounding area full of vitality, and the ancient tree it took root also benefited a lot, becoming greener and more spiritual. The pitiful snow-white pom-pom in Xiao Chen's arms suddenly had a pair of bright eyes that were different from before. Before Xiao Chen could react, it turned into a white light, rushed towards the ancient tree with a swish, and pulled out the little holy tree. At this moment, Xiao Chen's heart thumped, and he shouted bad things. If he pulled it out with such force, the rhizome of the little holy tree might be broken. What worried him was still behind. The little snow-white beast, which looked like a little tiger and a little lion, hugged the little holy tree tightly in its arms, rolling happily and excitedly in the forest, like a child who got candy, and then bit the jade leaves of the little tree. All this happened so fast that Xiao Chen didn't even have time to stop it. It wasn't until the little beast yelled, hey 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 hey, that he rushed up and grabbed the little beast. The snow-white pom-pom hugged the little tree tightly, but refused to let go. But what made Xiao Chen feel a little relieved was that the roots of the little tree were not broken, and the two crystal-clear jade leaves were also intact. The little guy was not biting the jade leaves, but sucking them. What a false alarm! This little guy was so messy. Xiao Chen wanted to separate it from the little tree, but found that it was hugging too tightly and couldn't be separated at all. Like protecting food, the little thing actually let out a few growls. Xiao Chen didn't want to hurt it either. He carried it and walked towards the three skeletons, who were looking around. Seeing Xiao Chen approaching, they immediately lay upright in the pile of bones, making Xiao Chen angry and laughing. Putting the three skeletons side by side, Xiao Chen put the snow-white pom-poms beside them and watched quietly. The little beast seemed to be very hungry, sucking on two jade leaves, making bahi-baji sounds. To Xiao Chen's surprise, as the little beast sucked, the two crystal-clear jade leaves flowed like water waves, continuously rushing towards its mouth. It is actually rapidly sucking the energy of the colorful holy tree. A pair of bright big eyes are full of contentment. They are no longer as pitiful as they were at the beginning, and their expressions are too human. Xiao Chen had a feeling that this little beast was very unusual. However, he didn't think much about it. After all, it was too small, so he didn't think the three skeletons were really afraid of it. The sun was already in the west, and Xiao Chen also felt hungry. He hunted a gazelle in the nearby forest, and began to grill the yellow lamb leg on the edge of the swamp. After a while, a tempting aroma wafted out. The golden yellow lamb leg, together with pineapples and other delicious fruits, immediately whetted his appetite, and he started to enjoy dinner. At this moment, the little snow-white beast seemed to be full, and stopped sucking the little holy tree, and casually threw it on the ground, allowing the little tree to take root in the swamp. Xiao Chen looked at it and shook his head. This little beast really had the heart of a child. However, what the little beast did next surprised him a lot. The snow-white pom-pom rolled around the three skeletons, blinking its big bright eyes as if showing a thoughtful expression. Then suddenly, it stood upright like a little ape, stretched out two little animal claws, and, tore down the three skeletons. Xiao Chen was dumbfounded. He was still amazed at first. The little guy who looks like a little tiger and a little lion can actually stand upright like a little ape. Then this sudden violent incident made him inexplicably astonished. It was so sudden. Fortunately, the three skeletons are just the joint parts, which have been disassembled and removed, not really smashed. Yi. The little snow-white beast shook the skulls of the three skeletons vigorously, while the other little beast pointed at a small tree not far away, as if asking something angrily. That's right, just angry. Although it is just a small beast, its expression is extremely vivid, which can make people feel its mood. The little snow-white beast yelled, and at the same time removed the forearm bone of King Qin Guang, grabbed it in the claws of a little beast, and used it as a big stick. It kept knocking on the skulls of the three skeletons, as if punishing them. This series of actions is really similar, which makes people feel very interesting. The three skeletons no longer pretended to be dead. Their lower half of the body and sternum were dismantled in 7s and 8s, and they sat up on the support of their arm bones, wilting like frost-beaten leaves. Dang dang dang. The little snow-white beasts grabbed the forearm bone, knocked on their skulls, and pointed to the small holy tree not far away, still babbling and asking questions. The three skeletons seemed to be forced to do nothing. They looked at each other for a while, and then the three skeleton arms were raised at the same time, pointing at Xiao Chen together. Faint. These three skeletons are too disrespectful. Being forced to confess by a little fluffy beast already seemed useless enough, but now they framed him so spinelessly together. Xiao Chen was completely speechless. Whoosh! A white light flashed, and Xiao Chen felt as if he was flying through the clouds. He was thrown into the air inexplicably. Until then he was shocked. The little beast was too extraordinary, far beyond his expectation. The body hurriedly adjusted to the fighting posture in the air, bursting out with brilliant rays of light, and then landed towards the ground. However, before he landed on the ground, the little snow-white beast below blinked its big eyes, and swung a claw of the little beast vigorously. A white light instantly enveloped him, and with a whoosh, he was thrown into the air again. Chapter 46 The Master of the Sacred Tree. Surprising supernatural powers. This little beast has a strange supernatural power, which is really amazing. Xiao Chen went up and down, was thrown east and west for a while, and was actually used as a toy by the little guy he picked up. Hee hee. The little snow-white pom-pom actually let out a childlike laugh, and blinked vigorously with its big bright eyes. Faint. Xiao Chen really felt like vomiting blood. What's going on? He felt a little ridiculous, seeing such a weird spirit beast for the first time. His cultivation has already been regarded as outstanding, and even the barbarian young strong Kaio is hard to resist. However, facing the little guy below, he felt a sense of powerlessness. That little thing knows a strange confinement technique. It doesn't seem to be an effective killer move, but it is enough to protect himself and torture people. Xiao Chen was trapped in a ball of white light. It was difficult to break through, and was thrown back and forth by the little thing in midair. It really makes people have the urge to vomit blood. Yee-ya-ya. Xiao Chen looked down, and saw the snow-white little beast, grabbing his roasted yellow lamb leg, eating with relish, and at the same time staring at him with big black eyes from time to time. The confinement technique was constantly being strengthened, but he refused to let him go. This made Xiao Chen a little crazy. Not far away, the three skeletons carefully picked up the dismantled bones one by one, and then looked at Xiao Chen up and down in the air. The three skeletons were very heartless and fled like thieves. Yee! The little snow-white beast yelled, and the three skeletons turned back slowly in frustration. Perhaps because it has never eaten familiar food sprinkled with sea salt, the little beast ate most of the roasted golden and shiny leg of lamb, and its belly was so round that it was difficult to move when lying on the ground, but it was satisfied. It blinked its big eyes and released Xiao Chen from midair. Xiao Chen was tortured for half an hour, and he really felt exhausted. In the end, he didn't break through the white light group, and was released by the little beast. That kind of confinement technique is indeed very powerful. Before Xiao Chen could adjust, the little snow-white beast hugged the little holy tree in its arms and fell asleep soundly. Seeing Xiao Chen walking over, the 3 skeletons and 6 bone claws gestured back and forth, and their jaws kept opening and closing, as if they were explaining something, as if they were saying that they were not disloyal. What's the matter with this little beast? Crack, click, click. Is it related to this little holy tree? Crack, click, click. You mean, it is the original owner of the little holy tree? Crack, click. The 3 skeletons nodded vigorously. This news alone is enough to explain everything. It turned out that the Lord came to the door. However, this little snow-white beast is really scary. It looks harmless, but it has a terrible confinement technique. I don't know if it has other supernatural powers. At night, the flames danced in the forest, and the little snow-white beast tightly hugged the little holy tree rooted on the roots of the ancient tree, and pouted from time to time in its sleep, like a cute little baby. What kind of spirit beast is this? Actually has extraordinary supernatural powers. If it weren't for its fur, Xiao Chen would really regard it as a companion dragon king. Thinking back to the day when the sacred seedlings were dug back, the bright holy dragon seemed to be disturbed and roared constantly. Although I didn't see what was going on, I guessed that this little snow-white beast was tossing around. From this, I can deduce that it is very unusual. Just don't know how it compares to those half-life dragon kings. Although he was tortured by the little beast didn't hurt him, and they were the ones who stole the little beast's treasure tree first, so Xiao Chen didn't have any resentment or killing intent in his heart. He can be ruthless to the enemy, but it is impossible for him to attack the little beast that is unprepared for him and sleeps peacefully like a baby. Xiao Chen is not pedantic, he is not the kind of gentleman who can sit around with beautiful women, he is a normal man. Power, beauties, treasures, are also alluring to him. But he has his own code of conduct, and he does something and does not do it. There is no absolute good or evil, but he has a bottom line drawn by himself. He thinks he is still a good person. In the early morning, the snow-white little beast opened its big bright eyes. When it smelled the aroma of barbecue, its belly made a gurgling sound. It quickly got up while hugging the treasure tree, and sat down next to Xiao Chen with a swish, looking eagerly at the golden deer breast. When Xiao Chen handed it the delicious candied deer, it wiggled its nose vigorously, and then happily took it. While the little beast was eating meat, Xiao Chen discovered that the rhizome of the little holy tree was exposed to the air for a long time, and the colorful rays of light gradually dimmed, and finally lost its brilliance, as ordinary as an ordinary small tree. Regardless of whether it could understand or not, Xiao Chen organized the language and told it what he wanted to say, but the little beast looked at him curiously, then stepped on and tore the little tree in front of him, then held it in his arms again like offering a treasure, and showed it to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen was really taken aback. This little thing doesn't take the treasure tree seriously, it's such a waste of money. Unexpectedly, the treasure tree was not damaged at all. Whether it was the tree body, leaves, or roots, they all seemed to be extremely tough and miraculous. The little beast seemed to be able to understand what Xiao Chen was thinking, and ravaged the little holy tree, and then put it on the root of an ancient tree, and soon the little holy tree bloomed with brilliant colorful rays of light again. Xiao Chen seemed to understand that this is really a precious tree with incomparably tenacious vitality, and there is no need to worry about damage. He also tried to pull up a root and carefully strengthened it, but finally found that it was as tough as pure gold and could not be broken at all. No wonder the little beast is not very nervous about the holy tree, and throws it away after use. It turns out that the little tree's vitality is too tenacious. Facing the morning glow, Xiao Chen and the 3 skeletons started on the road. The little beast grabbed its precious tree and waved its paws reluctantly to say goodbye to them. It was very humane and seemed to have a little affection for the thieves. Xiao Chen's injury has almost recovered, so he decided to go to the valley of the trees to fight fiercely. Although those trees are powerful, they are transformed from ancient trees after all. If a ruthless fire is ignited in the valley, he does not believe that the trees are not afraid of the flames. Against the enemy, he has always killed and decisively, never foolish and kind. Along the way, many traces of cultivators were found. Now dragons and snakes are mixed on Dragon Island, and the situation is getting more and more complicated. Xiao Chen has already seen the corpses of cultivators in several places, some of which have not yet cooled down. The blood stained the woodland, entering the Dragon Island and so on, joined the game of death. A master in the demigod realm has already brought the word, God. Judging from the performance of the fallen angel last time, she seems to have a deep taboo against Dragon Island. After hitting the bright holy dragon into Dragon Island, she quickly left. Long Island, which is sealed with evil power, seems to have a great influence on the masters of the demigod realm, making them afraid to approach. So what about the masters of the state of knowledge of Tibet? Maybe I'll see it soon after I think about it. Xiao Chen decided to try to avoid the cultivators on Long Island to avoid unnecessary conflicts and dangers. In the process of moving forward, Xiao Chen always felt that someone was following him. After scaring away a cursor who was flying low in the air with his profound skills, he still felt that there was someone behind him. It was not until the 9th time when he suddenly rushed to the rear that he saw the follower. It turned out to be a small animal like a snow-white pom-pom. The little beast looked a little funny, actually put the sacred tree on its head like a hat, and its roots were wrapped around its ears. The seedlings without brilliance had become so ordinary that people couldn't see the magic. It flashed a pair of big eyes, and looked at Xiao Chen, full of spirituality. So it was it, Xiao Chen smiled and continued on the road. The little beast stopped hiding and began to follow them blatantly. In the end, it even jumped directly on the head of the Reincarnation King and squatted on top of it, which made the Reincarnation King a little depressed. Chapter 47. Along the way, the little beast kept laughing, hee hee. It was really strange that its laughing sound was similar to that of a baby. Along the way, it was in high spirits and full of curiosity about everything, as if it had never been in this area. Occasionally, when encountering a large ferocious beast, he was not afraid at all. He wanted to rush over several times, but was stopped by Xiao Chen. Came to Tree People Valley again, but this time did not go to the entrance of the valley. Xiao Chen and the 3 skeletons directly climbed up the steep valley wall and looked towards the open valley below. The valley is green and vibrant, and there are large expanses of exotic flowers and grasses. The flowers are fragrant, and the colorful flowers are swaying with the breeze, rippling charming waves. Coupled with the waterfalls and springs in the valley, it is really a place with excellent scenery. Only this kind of spiritual land can grow ancient trees for thousands of years and give birth to tree people. It is a pity that it was destroyed by such a fire. However, Xiao Chen had no better way. And at this moment, Xiao Chen discovered that cultivators were haunting the valley, and it seemed that he was not the only one staring at Saran Valley. He came here to resolve the grievances with Zhao Liner, while the others came to get close to Zhao Liner, coveting her beauty and the powerful combat power of several tree people. This made Xiao Chen feel that things were a little troublesome. You can see 1 tree man guarding the valley entrance, and 2 other tree men walking in the valley. The blue giant shadow with a faint green light appears magical and powerful. Those cultivators who were peeping did not dare to force their way in, and they all waited quietly outside the valley. While Xiao Chen was thinking, there was commotion at the entrance of the valley, and the magnificent Zhao Liner appeared. She quietly stood on the shoulder of a tree man, and hung a large banner made of animal skins on the entrance of the valley. The big banner is very eye-catching, with a few large characters written in animal blood. If you want to form an alliance with Saran Valley, please kill this person to show your sincerity. Below the blood characters is a portrait of Xiao Chen, which was written by Zhao Liner. Immediately, 7 or 8 cultivators came out from the darkness and gathered around Taniguchi. Xiao Chen was not far from there, he could see it clearly, he couldn't calm down. Zhao Liner's move was too cruel. The peerless beauty of the royal celestial maiden, coupled with the powerful combat power of the tree ant, really has great allure. Whether they are greedy for her beauty or those who want to subdue the tree ants, they will probably gather by her side. Of course, this move may become a catastrophe for Xiao Chen, and his life will be seriously threatened. It is easy to guess that Zhao Liner will gather a powerful force, and this will be the first alliance on Dragon Island. Xiao Chen didn't expect Zhao Liner to come up with such a plan. No wonder she looked like she had a chance to win, and she was not in a hurry to lead the tree men to chase him down. Xiao Chen felt great danger. He quietly lay on the valley wall, motionless, quietly watching the development of the situation. All the cultivators in the nearby area were shocked. When the tree man appeared in front of many cultivators for the first time yesterday, this valley became the focus of attention of many cultivators. Right now, when the bloody banner is raised, it is particularly eye-catching, and many cultivators are moved upon hearing the news. Only half a day later, 13 people joined the Valley of the Tree People, including curse masters, spirit warriors, and warriors. These people were originally in groups of 3 or 2, and they could stand alone. Now that so many people are combined, it can be said that they have suddenly become an extremely powerful force. Now, Tree People Valley has formed the first alliance on Dragon Island. Their first task is not to find the ancestor dragon and the companion dragon king, but to kill Xiao Chen first. The last major event of an alliance between masters, the cause and process were quickly spread. For the first time, Xiao Chen's name became known to many cultivators, and it took more than half a day to spread throughout the outskirts of Dragon Island. It can be said that he is now considered a celebrity. In the afternoon, no one joined the Valley of the Tree People. Most of the cultivators lurking in the dark took a wait-and-see attitude, wanting to see the development of the situation. At dusk, two more people joined in, namely Arod, a strong forest tribe, and Kaio, a strong young man from the barbarian tribe. Undoubtedly, the strength of Saran Valley has greatly increased, and Xiao Chen feels that the pressure and danger have increased. On a mountain in the distance, the magnificent Yan Qingcheng watched Arod and Kaio enter the Valley of the Tree People, and said, "Yared wants to subdue the Tree People." Rand, a handsome blonde man, nodded and said, "He still made a move after all, but I don't know if the natural spiritual power he cultivated is enough, otherwise I'm afraid the bamboo basket will be empty. This Xiao Chen is in big trouble. How about we give them a favor?" Xiao Chen has been lurking on the valley wall for a day, watching everything that happened quietly. The three skeletons remained silent, as if they were cultivating the light of their souls. As for the little snow-white beast, it blinked its big bright eyes at first, looking at everything curiously. In the end, seeing Xiao Chen and the others motionless, it gradually lost interest, and fell asleep while curling up beside Xiao Chen. After sleeping for most of the day, when the sunset glowed the sky, the little beast opened its big eyes, stroked its growling belly, and kept babbling at Xiao Chen. Seeing Xiao Chen still not moving, the little beast hummed a few times in dissatisfaction, and with the unglamorous treasure tree on its head, it turned into a white light and rushed into the Valley of the Tree People. The three skeletons seemed to be resurrected, recovered from the dead state, and moved their joints flexibly. Xiao Chen was waiting for the night to come. The moon rises, the stars appear, and the night birds sing. There were bonfires flickering in the valley. Zhao Liner was with several tree men, and a dozen cultivators were divided into several pairs, discussing matters around the fire. It was not until late at night that the light of the fire was extinguished. With so many cultivators gathered together, they were not afraid of anyone's surprise attack. Xiao Chen waited for more than half an hour and was ready to take action. He knew that even if the valley turned into a sea of flames, it would probably be ineffective against those cultivators, and it might not be effective against tree people. He decided to retreat immediately after making a move, and seek a place to practice in seclusion. And just when Xiao Chen was about to take action, the little beast came back and ate something, with a round belly and staggering steps, almost unable to move. The little guy was hiccuping. The mouth is actually shiny, and there is something like fairy dew hanging on it, and those crystal drops are actually shimmering with traces of radiance. Xiao Chen was taken aback. This little snow-white beast was too miraculous. Could it have found a spiritual spring or fairy milk? The liquid hanging from the mouth is shining with a little brilliance. It is definitely not a mortal thing. What did you eat? Xiao Chen looked at it in surprise. Three skeletons also surrounded them. The little beast showed an extremely satisfied expression, touched his chubby belly, and groaned and chirped, to express his comfort. "Hey, where's your precious tree?" Xiao Chen was taken aback and found that the little tree had disappeared. The little beast lay comfortably among the flowers and plants, and pointed to the valley with its claws, indicating that the treasure tree was placed there. Xiao Chen was completely speechless. This little guy is too stingy, he doesn't care about the precious tree at all. These sacred seedlings are thrown around casually. If the precious tree has a spirit, he must sigh, "It's not good to meet a beast." Chapter 48 The Nectar of Life. Now, Xiao Chen finally knew why he was able to successfully dig up the little holy tree in the first place. Maybe it was the little beast that threw the treasure tree there last time. And the three skeletons knew the existence of the holy tree and the little beast earlier. Maybe it had been littered in the death swamp before. Xiao Chen really wanted to hit it hard. The little beast lay lazily among the flowers and plants, seemed to be savoring the delicious food, and smacked its lips, "Bahi baji." Xiao Chen was going to set fire to the valley in a while, but at this moment, the little beast seemed to have rested enough, and unexpectedly sat up with a gulu, and pulled Xiao Chen's clothes to signal to follow it. Thinking that the little holy tree was still in the valley, and didn't want it to be destroyed in the fire, Xiao Chen followed and wanted to see what it ate just now. The three skeletons are also like thieves, raising their legs high and lightly lowering their heels behind them, but the three bones walking like this is really funny. Climbing the trees and climbing down the valley wall, when they came to the valley, the little beast led them to turn left and right, far away from the area where the fire had flickered, and then narrowly escaped the two tree men, leading them to the deepest part of the valley. In the depths of the valley, the forest is deep, and each ancient tree requires more than a dozen people to embrace it, like a pair of giant umbrellas. Some ancient trees are luxuriant, and the canopy of a single tree covers an area of nearly 1 square kilometer, which can be called the peak of luxuriance. After traveling for about a few miles, I have reached the deepest part of the valley. There is a little light flickering ahead, which looks a little weird in the silent valley. When they saw the light source clearly, Xiao Chen and the 3 skeletons stopped in surprise. A bluish-green giant, flashing with green light, seemed to be in great pain, standing there with a hunched body, a lot taller than the 3 tree ants I saw before, a full 20 meters high. It was an old tree ant with many wrinkles on his face and a long green beard that hung down to his chest. What really surprised Xiao Chen and the others was not that the old tree was extraordinarily tall, but because there was a big gap in his chest and abdomen, and there was a 2-meter-tall naked man struggling outwards. The man is in the flesh, no different from ordinary human beings, but although he looks like a young man, his appearance still has the shadow of an old tree man, and upon closer inspection, there is a faint green brilliance flowing around his body. Xiao Chen was extremely shocked. The man seemed to be trying to transform out of the old acquaintance's body. As the man struggled outward bit by bit, the 20-meter-tall tree man slowly wilted, his vitality was rapidly disappearing, while bits of brilliance continued to gather towards the naked man. Alternative evolution. Xiao Chen was extremely surprised. A 1,000-year-old tree can evolve into a tree ant, but a tree ant can completely transform into a human. He felt a powerful force fluctuating on that naked man, as if it was no less than a fierce dragon. The man's transformation seemed to be extremely painful, and he didn't know how long it lasted, but only half of his body was transformed. The snow-white little beast blinked its big eyes and pulled Xiao Chen's trousers, signaling him to move on, but it avoided the transforming man far away. It is only 100 meters past the old tree man, and there is a fragrant area of flowers and plants in front of it. All the flowers and plants are full of aura, and the center area is even more radiant, which is particularly dazzling in the night. In the center of the flowers and plants, there is a small puddle of half a foot square. The bright light is emitted from there, and there is an endless flow of life aura. And the treasure tree of the little beast is taking root in the small puddle, the colorful glow and mist are dense, the whole tree is dazzling, and the liquid in the small puddle has almost dried up. Xiao Chen was a little dumbfounded. Although he had never heard of tree people when he was in the human world, he had heard of the crystal clear liquid in the small puddle. It seemed to be the nectar of life. It is the crystallization of nature. It is said that the vast primitive forest can produce a few drops over the years, which has the effect of life and death, but ordinary people can't find it at all. It is a veritable nectar of life. And here, a small puddle of half a foot square was formed. However, no matter how surprised Xiao Chen was, it was too late. Most of the nectar of life had already entered the small round belly of the little beast, while the rest was absorbed by the holy tree and dried up. It is a pity and a feeling that this little beast is too miraculous to be able to find nectar. The palm-tall tree has undergone astonishing changes. The crystal-clear white jade leaf has fully grown, the size of a black jade leaf, and another jasper leaf spit out, the brilliance is flowing, and the green light is shining. Compared with discovering the nectar of life, Xiao Chen was more surprised by the state of the little beast in the precious tree. The little beast didn't know how much nectar he drank, and his belly was round, but there was no change, which was really surprising. Even if a giant dragon drank so much nectar of life, some strange changes would probably occur. Miraculous little beast. The small tree absorbs the other half of the nectar of life, but it only produces one more new leaf. This is also surprising. Could it be that the upper half of the nectar of life is on the top of a new leaf? People are selfish. Xiao Chen is not a saint. He decided to find a way to keep the little beast and the precious tree by his side. This little guy is incredible. The little snow-white beast pulled out the precious tree, and put it on its furry head nonchalantly. Crash! When the little tree was uprooted, there was a sound from the dry pond, and 3 crystal-clear crystals emerged. The little beast grabbed it suspiciously, chewed one of them up like a jelly bean, and threw one to Xiao Chen. All of this happened so fast, Xiao Chen didn't have time to stop it, and he didn't expect there to be nectar crystals in the puddle. The little beast is really reckless, just finished drinking the nectar of life, and now swallowed another crystal. Waste. Such a waste. It seemed that the taste was not very good. The little beast threw the remaining one to King Qin Guang. Such a casual action really drove Xiao Chen a little crazy. Did this little beast grow up in the divine spring? It's really speechless. Chapter 49. Setting fire to the valley. Only the spiritual valley that bears the nectar of life can give birth to such spiritual creatures as tree people. You can't stay here for a long time. Xiao Chen thought of the transforming tree ant not far away. It was definitely an existence comparable to a fierce dragon. He is so close to here, probably to protect the nectar of life, but it just happens to be transformed and he has no time to take care of this place. Xiao Chen and the others quickly retreated from the depths of the valley, carefully dodging the two tree ants along the way, and the little beast seemed to know not to disturb those big guys, and was extraordinarily quiet on the way back. Once, relying on its spiritual perception, it avoided a tree ant who turned into a towering ancient tree. If you didn't observe carefully in the night, it was hard to imagine that it was transformed by a moving blue giant. Including the transforming old tree ant, a total of 5 tree ants were found in the Valley of the Trees. This is definitely a very powerful combat force, especially the old tree ant may be unbelievably tyrannical. Xiao Chen didn't think that Zhao Linner and the others could control the transforming old tree man, who had completely transformed into a human appearance, and his mind was definitely not comparable to those of the other tree men. With incomparably powerful combat power, how could he be driven by others? Now that he has planned to stay away from the killing vortex and find a place to hide and practice, Xiao Chen decided to take a shot before leaving, which can be regarded as a warning and counterattack to everyone in Saran Valley. He and the 3 skeletons turned into 4 rays of light, surrounded the outer area of the Valley of the Trees, and began to ignite fires in all directions. Most of the vegetation on Long Island is oily, and once ignited, it immediately burns violently. Xiao Chen still needs to use a torch to ignite the fire, and the 3 skeletons all have strong spiritual power. The light of the soul is constantly beating, and clusters of ghostly black fire burst out wherever they pass. But in just a short moment, the surrounding area of Saran Valley was full of flames, and the raging flames were unstoppable, spreading towards the valley. Xiao Chen and the 3 skeletons didn't dare to stay for a moment, and quickly fled towards the distance. It was impossible to return to the area of the death swamp, and it was impossible to return to that direction. Xiao Chen and the 3 skeletons rushed towards the west of Long Island like flying, which was a strange land they had never explored before. Behind them, the fire was so bright that it was extremely dazzling in the middle of the night, and half of the sky was burned red. Xiao Chen and the 3 skeletons ran for more than 10 miles before stopping to look back. No one followed them, and there were no other sounds except for the roar of beasts. The little snow-white beast also followed. When it set the fire just now, it was excited for a long time, and finally fled all the way down. Standing on the mountain, looking at the Red Valley, you can vaguely hear the noise and chaos there. Xiao Chen could guess Zhao Linner's mood at this time. Even if there was no damage, it would be a big blow to everyone in the valley. The alliance had just been formed, but the Saran Valley was burned on the first day. This is the enemy's contempt and their shame. Xiao Chen stopped watching, and walked quickly through the forest with the 3 skeletons, avoiding the wild beasts in the forest all the way to the west, and they ran for dozens of miles overnight before stopping. It has to be said that this piece of Dragon Island seems to be very open, and the area of dozens of kilometers is still in the outer area of Dragon Island, which can be considered as a large island with a large area. Let others go crazy, let others kill. Xiao Chen doesn't want to be involved in the vortex of competing for the companion Dragon King. In the next period of time, he will go into seclusion and wait quietly for someone to find the companion Dragon King. Then he will leave Dragon Island on their big boat and enter the vast longevity continent. Maybe it was a coincidence, maybe it was a real evil force on Long Island. The fire burned in the Valley of the Tree People for an hour. After destroying half of the valley, the clear starry sky suddenly turned dark clouds, and it rained quickly, extinguishing the raging fire. There were no casualties among the people in the valley, but everyone's complexion was very ugly, and it was obvious that traces of arson could be seen. Zhao Linner stood on the shoulders of a tree ant, a mass of bright light enveloped her body, blocking the rain from approaching, and the water mist formed a hazy thin layer of smoke around her body, making her look extremely illusory. However, the mood of the royal goddess at this moment is not as ethereal as her fairy body. She is very angry. She once thought that other people on the island might be attacking their alliance, but it was quickly ruled out. She found the traces of bone claws unique to the 3 skeletons, all of which must have been done by Xiao Chen. If it was really tit for tat, she had just gathered a terrifying force. Xiao Chen immediately ruthlessly slapped them in the face. This will definitely become a joke for other cultivators on Long Island. In the crowd, Kaio let out a low roar. Being burned out of Tree Human Valley by Xiao Chen in such embarrassment made him feel extremely angry. His companion, Arod, was very calm, staring at the 3 tree ants from time to time. There are 5 tree ants in the valley, 2 of them are deep in the valley and have not been affected by the fire. Of the remaining 3 treants, except for one whose left arm was burned, the other 2 were also intact. This is a powerful fighting force, and Arid was very moved. The rest of the people were also very angry, and a dozen or so masters were burned to the ground. Most of the cultivators on the outskirts of Long Island were alarmed. Some of them stood or watched from the mountains, some flew to the top of the tall trees to watch from a distance, and some curse masters and spiritual masters even flew over to watch closely. Standing on the cliff not far away, Yan Qingcheng looked at the stars shining brightly in the distance, but only when the area of Saran Valley was covered with dark clouds. She said thoughtfully, "This is the power from Dragon Island." It was a restless night. On the second day, the incident of burning the Saran Valley was indeed widely spread. Xiao Chen became the focus of attention again, but no one could find his trace. It seemed that he had disappeared from Dragon Island. Many people speculated that he had fled into the depths of Dragon Island. However, this turmoil did not last long, and was diluted by what happened next. Less than 3 days have passed since the Saran Valley incident. A major incident happened on Dragon Island, and someone discovered the accompanying Dragon King. Roar. The sound of the dragon's roar resounded through the heavens and the earth, terrifying all animals, but the one making the dragon's roar was only a little dragon more than 1 meter long. The huge sound waves it emits, like a violent storm and thunder, make the mountains and forests shake violently. In terms of the strength of the sound alone, it is faster than the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the 8-armed evil dragon. Chapter 50 God's light seals the island. This is a young dragon with a bright purple radiance. Although it is only more than 1 meter long, its powerful dragon aura makes the huge beasts in the forest dare not to provoke it. This is the inherent power of the Beast King. It looks very similar to the legendary unicorn beast, with a deer-like body, wolf hooves, and dragon scale skin, but it is also obviously different from the legendary unicorn. Its tail is a crocodile-like god tail, shining purple and densely scaled. Moreover, there are 2 horns on its head, and the purple gold horns resemble deer antlers, and its head is very much like the legendary Zulong. Moreover, in terms of momentum, it is fundamentally different from the Qilin beast. The Qilin is a legendary auspicious beast, and this purple companion dragon king is full of the coercion of a barbarian king. Although it is very young, it gives people a strong sense of oppression. This companion dragon king was discovered by Yan Qingcheng and ran near the waterfall. They have been waiting in that area, and they have already found a young dragon that seems to appear there often, but it was not found until today. It's just that the young purple dragon king is too strong. There was a thundering dragon whistle, the rolling sound waves had incomparable lethality, it destroyed the branches and leaves of the nearby forests, and forced Yan Qingcheng and ran back. In terms of sound waves alone, it is enough to match the soul-stirring sound skill of the realm of knowing Tibet. The ancestor dragon and the companion dragon king show some signs of evolution shortly after birth, and then they will voluntarily leave the mother dragon that gave birth to them and start their own unique evolutionary path. Although there is no adult fierce dragon guarding them, Yan Qingcheng and Rand find that they still seem to be unable to subdue this young dragon. The tyranny of the companion dragon king exceeded their expectations. Legend has it that the dragon clan was sealed on this wild island and lost all their supernatural powers. However, this was not applicable to the young dragon king at all. It was able to split the dazzling purple divine light and turn the rocks in front of Yan Qingcheng and Rand into powder. The young dragon king fled away very vigilantly, his body covered in purple flames, and disappeared into the forest like a bolt of purple lightning. The speed was so fast that even Rand Yukong couldn't catch up. The roaring sound of the accompanying dragon king alarmed everyone on Long Island. Many cultivators rushed here, but when they arrived, they only found a little remnant. The young dragon king had long since disappeared. This is the first companion dragon found on Long Island, and people call it the Purple Dragon King. In the next few days, most of the cultivators gathered in this area, looking for the whereabouts of the Purple Dragon King. Yan Qingcheng was a little annoyed, she never expected a young dragon to be so powerful that they watched it run away with regret. Undoubtedly, the appearance of the Purple Dragon King had a huge impact and touched the hearts of all cultivators, and everyone wanted to subdue him. If it can be raised to adulthood, it will be a terrifying existence that makes even the gods tremble. Even the Saran Valley Alliance no longer searched for Xiao Chen's whereabouts. They all devoted themselves to finding the clues of the Purple Dragon King, which invisibly resolved Xiao Chen's crisis, and the royal goddess Zhao Lin'er was not easy to stop. However, more than half a month passed, but no one noticed at all. The young Zilong King seemed to have evaporated, and there was no trace of him anymore. Everyone had to marvel that the Purple Dragon King had high intelligence, and seemed to know the danger was approaching, and it successfully evaded everyone's search. The cultivators all speculated about its possible whereabouts. Some thought it was hiding in a dark cave, while others thought it had entered the depths of Dragon Island. In this way, some people continued to search on the outskirts of Dragon Island, while others who dared to take risks began to head towards the depths of Dragon Island. The process of searching for the Purple Dragon King was also a process of melee and killing, and many people lost their lives because of this. 20 days have passed since the day the Purple Dragon King appeared, and another big event happened on Long Island. This time, it can be called terrifying, and the fate of everyone is closely related to it. Today, on the vast Dragon Island, a large number of cultivators have gathered, all of whom are powerful masters, and there are no longer follow-up big ships coming. However, just today, bursts of terrifying divine light suddenly surged from above the Dragon Island. For a moment, the dazzling people couldn't open their eyes. The entire Dragon Island was like a shining divine pearl in the vast sea. On the Dragon Island, thousands of beasts roared together, and all the dragons roared, as if the sky had collapsed and the earth was splitting apart. The entire huge Dragon Island was shaking in terror, as if the end of the world was coming. Many cultivators were terrified, not knowing what had happened. Everyone trembled from their souls, and felt extremely terrified. The dazzling divine light lasted for about an hour before it gradually dimmed. The cultivators outside the island were surprised to find that the sea area around Long Island had undergone amazing changes. The brilliant divine light appeared in the boundless sea. Vaguely, many cultivators felt an extremely terrifying force surging in the waves. Later, they saw a terrifying scene, which confirmed the conjecture in their hearts. A long-awaited big ship fell apart in an instant, melted like snowflakes, and completely collapsed and disappeared in the waves. The 1,000-mile taboo sea around Long Island has been restored to a dead zone, and now it cannot be walked through. The sea area is closed in advance. This is a big change, beyond everyone's expectations. According to the records of cultivation history, in the past, after the Sea of Taboo was opened, it would last at least half a year before it was resealed, but this time it was so short, less than 2 months. The cultivators on the edge of the island almost collapsed after seeing this situation. This means that they will never be able to leave Dragon Island, unless they wait until a new reincarnation begins hundreds of years later. However, who can live for such a long time? This mysterious and frightening Dragon Island suppresses the power of the gods. No one can reach the realm of longevity on this deserted island, and no one can wait for the day when they will be freed. Most of the people who came to Dragon Island were young masters. They were representatives of various forces on the mainland, and they were all carefully selected heroes. For the sake of balance, very few people from the previous generation of masters cultivated into the Dragon Island. This is a kind of tacit understanding between the various forces, forming a delicate balance. Of course, not entering Long Island doesn't mean the previous generation of cultivators won't make a move. Dragon Island is located in the depths of the vast sea, thousands of miles away from the mainland. Even if you win the accompanying Dragon King, it is very dangerous to cross this vast sea area, and there is a high possibility that someone will snatch it along the way. The masters of the previous generations of all forces are all waiting for the response along the way. In the vast sea area, on all the necessary roads, there are even demigods waiting. They are people who are close to gods. The young masters on the island are desperate, and they will be sealed on Dragon Island forever. But at this time, they saw another terrifying scene. In the vast waves, a fallen angel with wings was constantly struggling above the sea, writhing in pain. But in a very short moment, her body disintegrated and was smashed to pieces by the surging divine light. Chapter 51. The terrifying Sea of Taboos has also been sealed off in the sky. Fallen angels generally have the cultivation base of the demigod realm, and are regarded as an ancient family of gods by some disadvantaged races. And such an existence is unexpectedly difficult to resist the sealing power of the Taboo Sea. And not far away, a human fighter who was able to fly in the air was also quickly destroyed by the divine light. That is the semi-god level powerhouse guarding the periphery of the island, waiting for the return of his own young powerhouse, and he is a very powerful figure on the longevity continent. Practitioners in the realm of longevity and nirvana are basically not in the world. The semi-god level powerhouses in the realm of Yukong are already considered to be the top of the pyramid in the world. They can compete with the legendary fallen angels of the ancient gods and the holy dragon of light, but they are also difficult to resist the sealing power of the Taboo Sea. The strong young men on the outskirts of the island collapsed, and even the demigods couldn't get out of the Taboo Sea. How would they leave? They are trapped here forever. On this day, Long Island was full of panic, and this sudden change seemed to them to be waiting for the end of the world. A hopeless Dragon Island, a hopeless Dragon Island. The divine light on Dragon Island subsided, and the previous situation was restored. The nearby sea area gradually calmed down, and the divine light had also subsided. However, it could be clearly felt that there seemed to be a mysterious force in the seawater, which separated Long Island from the Longevity continent. For nearly a month, Xiao Chen has been practicing, strength is the last word. He was not alarmed until today's catastrophe happened on Long Island. Soon he knew what happened, which was also a shocking thunderbolt to him. However, it is useless to be annoyed and desperate. Now we can only think about the things in front of us. I am afraid that there will be a panic on Long Island. If driven by someone with a heart, these few days will be an extremely dangerous period. Xiao Chen grounded himself among a rocky cliff, and had to escape the initial dark period, and now the first task is to live well. In fact, for the next 3 days, everything went as Xiao Chen expected. A bloody storm blew up on the island, and a cruel reshuffle took place. It is definitely not 1 or 2 people who are pushing, there should be many people who are fueling the flames, filling the desperate people with panic, and the melee and killing have caused many young strong men to fall. No matter where, there are ambitious people like heroes. This is the first major reshuffle on Dragon Island. It is not yet clear who is behind the scenes. Only when the island calms down in the future can we see some clues. In the past 3 days, many cultivators were almost desperate and shot wildly. Many female cultivators were the first to bear the brunt, and their beauty brought disaster to them. Desperate crowd, animal nature broke out. What did they dare not do in the past? What scruples do they have now? During this period, it was full of evil, the strong live and the weak perish, which has become an unchanging truth on Long Island. In just 3 days, nearly half of the cultivators on Long Island died, and hundreds of people died. Many ferocious beasts have a good meal. This is a terrible disaster, this is a man-made reshuffle. In those 3 days of incomparably dark and chaotic days, a group of truly terrifying powerhouses fell, those taboo opponents behind the scenes, and now it is finally over. After a brutal reshuffle, the island gradually calmed down, everyone has been alerted, and everyone is thinking about future survival. Originally, the people who entered Long Island were all representatives of various forces, and they were all opposed to each other, but now forming alliances will become a trend. If you want to survive well, you must unite together to grow your strength. Saran Valley is a good example. During the 3-day cleansing, there was no one who pushed behind the scenes to kill Saran Valley. Many people were greedy for Zhao Liner's peerless beauty, and some people attacked from time to time in despair. However, the dead bodies piled up in front of the Valley of the Trees, and the besiegers suffered heavy casualties, and they did not take the Valley of the Trees. This makes people see the importance of forming an alliance. Only when they are united can they have a strong ability to survive. However, only the people inside the Valley of the Trees knew that it was a fluke that the Valley of the Trees was able to survive this storm. Although, several powerful tree ants participated in the defending battle. However, in the face of the crazy cultivators who came to kill them from time to time, if it wasn't for a critical moment when a terrifying young man walked out from the depths of the Valley of the Trees, they couldn't stop them at all. The young man was 2 meters tall and had long dark green hair. He was as powerful as a fierce dragon. Most of the cultivators who rushed into the Valley of the Trees were killed by him. As soon as the battle in the Valley of the Tree Ants was over, Arid and Kaio left, because Arid already knew that it was impossible to subdue the ants there, so he and Kaio began to prepare to form an alliance. Not long after the cleansing ended, more than a dozen alliances appeared, including the Natural Alliance, formed by Yared and Kaio, the Dharma Alliance, formed by Monk Yijun and his senior brother Iji, the Undead Alliance, formed by Yan Qingcheng and Rand, the Light Alliance, formed by the Light Curse Master Schroeder, and the Blue Rain Alliance, formed by the female spiritualist Lan Yu. Speaking of which, Saran Valley is considered the first alliance. After the big reshuffle, powerful cultivators are forming alliances one after another to expand their strength. Forming alliances has become a major trend. Only in this way can they be strong and survive better. Obviously, some of the behind-the-scenes driving forces in the Great Cleansing are the founders of some alliances, and now they are starting to recruit troops to strengthen their own strength. However, within 2 or 3 days, some alliances had already reached 40 or 50 people, but at the moment there were only 600 or 700 people on Dragon Island, and an alliance with dozens of people was already considered very terrifying. If it continued like this, it would definitely become the overlord of Dragon Island in the end. Weak alliances, as well as cultivators who have not joined the alliance, among these people there are many conspirators, many of them jointly shouted and spread the news. There is no overlord or emperor on Dragon Island, everyone is free and everyone is equal. In order to avoid the emergence of a super alliance, a harsh rule was gradually accepted by the vast majority, that is, the upper limit of an alliance is 10 people, otherwise all alliances will unite and attack them together, thereby inhibiting the emergence of superpowers. This regulation is supported by the vast majority of people, because they clearly know what it means and avoid many dire consequences. Otherwise, some people may become the Emperor of Dragon Island, some may become the overlord of one party, and more people will be enslaved and become soldiers who obey their orders. This is something that those behind the scenes did not expect. The people who entered Long Island were all elites, and the behind-the-scenes pushers were just the first to attack once. After the others calmed down, they were no less wise than them. Chapter 52 End of Quiet Training. Many restrictive regulations are being slowly perfected. In order to avoid mutual vendetta, to avoid further tragedies, and to avoid actions by behind-the-scenes pushers, another new rule was introduced. If conflicts arise between alliances, no more than 3 alliances may engage in melee. With the consent of more than 10 alliances, the conflicts between those 2 alliances can be resolved by force, thereby avoiding joint battles between alliances. When conflicts between individuals need to be resolved by fighting, there are no such strict rules. As long as the 3 alliances agree, the 2 sides can resolve it by force. On the surface, restricting the growth of the alliance seems to have avoided the emergence of an uncrowned king. However, the current situation is also full of various disadvantages. Fights will arise from time to time and have been legalized. After all, the people who can enter Long Island are all representatives of various forces, some outstanding young men and women, and everyone is very conceited and proud. The emergence of this kind of regulation is what they like to see. It not only restricts the big forces, but also reflects their extraordinariness in legal battles. In just a few days, an undercurrent surged on Long Island, and dozens of alliances were quickly formed, and there were very few people who did not join the alliance. Of course, there must be special cases. It is rumored that someone with unfathomable strength has entered the depths of Dragon Island. Xiao Chen walked out from a hidden cliff and came to a spiritual valley full of flowers. The exotic flowers are in full bloom here, the yao grass paves the ground, the green bamboos are emerald green, there are also flying waterfalls and flowing springs, yudai creeks, and small green lakes, which can be described as beautiful scenery. The snow-white little beast lay lazily and helplessly among the flowers and plants. For so many days, the little guy was extremely troubled. Every day, he was drooling over the aroma of Xiao Chen's barbecue, but he couldn't enjoy it. The last time he drank so much nectar of life, his little belly was bulging, and he hadn't digested much in the past month, so he could only sigh in relief when faced with the delicious food. Seeing its drooling appearance, Xiao Chen found it particularly funny. During the period of cultivation, Xiao Chen named it Kiki, originally wanted to call it Haha, because it always laughed non-stop when it was happy, and finally chose a name with a similar pronunciation. The 3 skeletons have made a lot of breakthroughs in cultivation during this period of time, and the reason is the life crystal thrown to them by the little beast. At the beginning, Xiao Chen was a little worried when he saw that the 3 of them absorbed the crystal. After all, they were dark creatures, and they were afraid of conflicting due to their energy attributes. However, by observation, there is nothing to worry about. They are not the kind of dead souls as imagined, their soul light is immortal, no different from human souls in the ordinary sense, and even much stronger than ordinary people's soul power. Although a life nectar crystal is only the size of a knuckle, the pure energy contained in it is unimaginable, and it is not much worse than a dragon crystal. It was such a crystal that allowed the 3 skeletons to cross a natural moat on the road of cultivation. Originally, they had just entered the realm of metamorphosis, but they were very unstable, and sometimes they would even fall to this realm after fierce battles. But now that he has directly entered the second heaven of transformation, the white skeleton is much smoother and crystal clear, with a jade-like luster. What's more important is that they have undergone some strange changes. On the frontal bones of the 3 skeletons, there is a lotus-like brand, which can emit a brilliant light. Vaguely, Xiao Chen felt that the formation of the brand mark would be of great benefit to the 3 skeletons, and perhaps most of the essence of the nectar of life crystallization had been condensed there. It can be said that they have become real masters, and they have been able to fight against powerful enemies together with Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen didn't know how the outside world had changed in the past few days, so he decided to go out for a walk, but this time without the 3 skeletons, they were too conspicuous. Walking alone through the dense old forest, he returned to the familiar area, and soon discovered many abnormalities. Soon, Xiao Chen finally knew what had happened recently. The establishment of alliance and survival regulations made him keenly aware of the pros and cons. On the surface, it seems that there are restrictions on Long Island, but the fight seems to be completely legalized. Although he was sneaking around, there were many cultivators in this area, and he was discovered not long after. His portrait was once painted on the animal skin banner, and some people had seen it before. Even more people have heard of it. He once burned half of the Valley of the Tree people with a ruthless fire. Xiao Chen is now considered a celebrity. Now that he has been discovered, fortunately Xiao Chen no longer hides his whereabouts, and started to walk freely in the mountains and forests. Fighting has been legalized, and he can't provoke and seek revenge at will. He is looking forward to Zhao Liner coming to him personally to fight him legally. Soon someone approached him, but it wasn't Zhao Liner. Someone wanted to pull him into a certain alliance, but Xiao Chen politely refused. Since then, people have appeared from time to time, and several alliances have extended olive branches to him. However, Xiao Chen politely declined all of them, and he didn't want to be tied to a certain alliance. Xiao Chen had no choice but to stop when he was not far from the place where snakes, elephants and dragons haunted, because someone stopped him with a bad face, and it turned out to be the strong young barbarian Kaio. It's such a coincidence that we meet again. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Kaio's face was extremely gloomy. The last battle was a shame for him. Just now when he learned that Xiao Chen had entered this area, he immediately came to the door. However, although he suffered a disastrous defeat in the last battle, the ancient beast soul in his body gradually merged with his body, which made him frustrated and annoyed, but at the same time gradually developed a strong self-confidence. He desperately wanted to fight Xiao Chen again to wash away the shame he had suffered. Today is a rare opportunity. I'm going to tear you apart this time. Kaio growled lowly. The 3-meter-high body looked extremely terrifying in the shadows of the forest. It is said that fighting has been legalized. Do we need to find someone to witness it? Xiao Chen was fearless, even a little relaxed. Of course, although Kaio has an innate animal nature, he doesn't dare to mess around alone. After all kinds of regulations have just been promulgated, and he doesn't want to be the first person to destroy them. There are many cultivators in this area, and the news was spread in the first time, and the founders of the 3 alliances appeared on the spot, and they unanimously agreed that this duel can be carried out. However, the competition venue needs to be selected elsewhere. This area is too close to the snake elephant dragon. In order to avoid alarming the fierce dragon, it needs to stay away from here. The news was spreading rapidly. After all, this was the first legal battle that took place after the alliance appeared and various restrictions were issued, which attracted extra attention. Not long after, more than 100 people gathered at the newly established battle site, and more than a dozen alliances came, and more people were rushing here. Chapter 53 Fierce Battle. Wait a minute. After receiving the news, Arid finally arrived here before the battle started, and behind him were members of the natural alliance he created with Kaio. Yalid's complexion was not very good. He didn't want any accidents to happen to Kaio, and shouted, "Someone wants to fight Xiao Chen first." Many of the hundreds of cultivators present sneered. There are also some people who look very indifferent. Anyway, the matter has nothing to do with them, as long as there is a life and death battle to watch. Kaio's face was ashen. Although he knew that Yalid was worried about him, he was still very angry. He felt very ashamed in front of so many people. There are still people who want to fight me. Kaio, do you agree? If you want to play 2 against 1, I can even agree to let him join forces with you to fight me. Xiao Chen knew that it was impossible for Kaio to agree. However, under the signal of Yalid, a curse master flew out from the Alliance of Nature. He took Xiao Chen's words and said loudly to the people watching the battle, "Okay, since Xiao Chen has agreed, then I will also fight him." This is simply shameless, too thick-skinned. Xiao Chen didn't expect that Yalid would instruct someone to do this. He really put down his face completely. As the founder of the Natural Alliance, Yarrow agreed first on behalf of his own alliance. The second agreed alliance is Shuren Valley, and Zhao Liner has also rushed here at this moment. The third to agree was an alliance called Feiyan, founded by a beautiful woman named Li Miao. Xiao Chen didn't remember offending such a woman, but seeing her standing not far from Arid, he immediately understood that the 2 alliances seemed to be connected. Many people are laughing at it, which is really too much. Kaio let out an angry roar, and shouted at the curse master who flew over, "Back off, if you dare to disturb my decisive battle with Xiao Chen, I will tear you apart first." The blonde cursor named Demons, his face turned blue and then pale. He was ridiculed when he rushed up to fight Xiao Chen with Kaio, but now he was reprimanded by Kaio. His face changed at that time, and he shook his sleeves angrily and left. "I swear, if someone disturbs our duel, I, Kaio, will never die with him." The deep roar of the beast stirred in the forest, full of fierce aura. Yulad was helpless, and the blonde cursor Demonzi's face was livid, and the short episode before the battle ended like this. With a loud roar from Kaio, the trembling trees trembled, full of beastliness. Green fierce light gradually appeared in his eyes. Without any extra words, the 3-meter-high demon body erupted with a domineering aura, and his long brown hair danced wildly, extremely ferocious. 2 gigantic ferocious beasts, 10 meters high, completely condensed by divine light, exuding a terrifying and vicious aura, appeared behind Kaio. One end is an energid cyan wolf, the other end is an energid yellow tiger. The huge ominous shadow looms and lets out heart-pounding roars, setting off Kaio very horribly. Ferocious beast body protection. Like a beast king, Kaio was surrounded by divine light, and rushed towards Xiao Chen with a roar. A pair of huge claws almost tore through the void, emitting a brilliant blue-yellow light, distorting the space. Xiao Chen was also imposing. His whole body was like a mountain, exuding an incomparably powerful aura. His whole body was shrouded in light, the divine flames danced, and as he took a step forward, the ground trembled. With a berserk strike, Xiao Chen's hands erupted with streaks of radiant light, like heavenly knives, piercing through the void with a radius of several feet. In the terrifying energy light, you can vaguely see the horse-like divine light, which is constantly impacting with the 2 huge beasts, and the erupting terrifying aura continues to rage in this mountain. Many Alliance members were on the sidelines, and many people watching the game changed color. The ground was already trembling, the trees were trembling wildly, and the fallen leaves were flying. The nearby area was filled with the violent aftermath of extremely powerful energy. The 2 people in the field were moving like lightning in the bright brilliance, leaving afterimages in the dazzling light. They were fighting fast and colliding constantly. All kinds of exquisite killing styles will be played dozens of times every moment, surpassing the visual reactions of many people. This is a life and death confrontation between the strong. Divine light, afterimages, devil claws, beast souls, light knives, complement each other, and the terrifying energy spreads in all directions. Surroundings, forests continued to crumble. Even the aftermath of the Great War, those towering ancient trees could not bear it. Broken branches and fallen leaves were flying all over the sky, and sawdust was flying all over the sky like snowflakes. Both of them were emitting a dazzling light, as if a divine fire was burning fiercely. Due to their high speed, their moving trajectories in the field were like bolts of lightning dancing wildly. Roar! Kaio roared wildly, leapt high, and swooped down like a goshawk. The huge claws firmly grasped the right arm of Xiao Chen, who rushed up into the air, and was about to turn him, but it was difficult to shake. Xiao Chenru didn't move at all, but turned his wrist to grab his left wrist, and threw the 3-meter-tall Kaio away with a forceful throw on his back. The divine light surged, and Kaio broke 11 ancient trees in a row before falling among the broken branches and fallen leaves. He roared and charged again. However, he knew in his heart that he was defeated by Xiao Chen. Thinking of the last fiasco, his strong self-confidence was shaken. Xiao Chen soared into the air again, sweeping his legs continuously in the air. The brilliance was dazzling. Kaio raised his arms to block, and endured the heavy sweep. Boom! Kaio was swept away by Xiao Chen in the air. Dazzling light burst out, and a large forest was smashed to pieces by the impact of energy. All the spectators were heroes of the new generation, but seeing this battle, many people couldn't help but change their colors. Roar! Kaio roared, but just as he stood up, Xiao Chen, who rushed towards him like lightning, grabbed his left arm and threw him up. Afterwards, he left an afterimage in the air and chased after him, stepping hard on Kaio's chest with both feet. Kaio felt unprecedented fear. The last battle had left a shadow in his heart, but this time he was defeated again. At this moment, he lost all energy and hurriedly rolled over to save his life. Xiao Chen's feet stepped on the ground, and the ground trembled violently. Terrible cracks appeared on the ground, spreading far away. Click! Xiao Chen stepped out again, and there was a sound of broken bones, causing Kaio's legs to break, and screams rang out in the forest. Xiao Chen swung his right leg violently, and Kaio was kicked into the air. Surrounded by brilliant light, Xiao Chen soared into the air, grabbed Kaio's arms with both hands, and broke his arms with 2 crisp clicks. Chapter 54 Footstep Curse Master. Stop! The blonde cursor Demancy flew over quickly, like a golden lightning, and he uttered a strange syllable. When he waved his hands, the spell was released, and an energetic snake with a length of several meters swept towards Xiao Chen with its huge dancing body. Shameless. Mean. ... The people watching the battle couldn't stand it any longer. Before demons caught Xiao Chen's words, he was disgracefully qualified to fight Xiao Chen, but he had already been rejected by Kaio, but at this moment he rushed over again and launched an attack. Obviously under the instigation of Yulad, they were afraid that Kaio would be killed, and now they can't care less about face. Huh, Xiao Chen snorted coldly, grabbed the seriously injured Kaio, and started to spin violently, throwing towards the big energy snake. Boom, the energized giant snake collapsed in the air, and Kaio's body was also fractured in many places. Xiao Chen rotated his body and landed on the ground, then threw it up, and punched him hard in the chest. The fist was shining brightly, like a comet passing through the air, bursting out with dazzling divine light, hitting Kaio's chest violently, and at the same time, a dazzling light blade slashed towards his neck, flying him more than 20 meters away, breaking more than a dozen ancient trees in a row. Kaio is an opponent worthy of admiration, but an opponent is an opponent, no matter how good his weapon is, he is still an enemy. When meeting him, it is impossible to sit down and have a drink and have fun. You can only face each other with life and death. Therefore, Xiao Chen did not show any mercy, and directly tried his best to kill him. However, things are often unexpected, and he did not kill Kaio. Kaio comes from a barbarian tribe, and many strong men of this tribe have ancient beast souls sealed in their bodies. Undoubtedly, there is an ancient beast soul in Kaio's body, and it is added by two souls, namely the soul of the wolf and the soul of the fierce tiger. At this moment, the potential of the ancient beast soul is stimulated, and it bursts out with brilliant light, blocking most of the power of Xiao Chen's blow and saving Kaio's life. However, most of Kaio's bones were broken, and he suffered unimaginable injuries. He will be a disabled person within half a year, and it is difficult to threaten Xiao Chen. The spectators from all alliances were in a hustle and bustle. They were so impressed by Xiao Chen's strength that many people were extremely surprised. In the distance, Yared roared, caught Kaio who fell from the sky, and looked at Xiao Chen with endless killing intent. On this side, the Curse Master Demancy has already fought with Xiao Chen, and the spells are constantly issued: Purple Thunder and Lightning, Black Ghost Fire, Energy Giant Snake, Flaming Sword, continuously chopping and dancing, bombarding Xiao Chen. However, in Xiao Chen's brilliant fist, all the energy of the spell collapsed, making it difficult to hurt him. Demons gradually became agitated. He had already been ridiculed and disdainful when he appeared on the stage, but now he was fighting a person who had just experienced a life-and-death fight, and it was so ineffective, which made him even more impatient. Demon's flying height was getting closer and closer to the ground, and he had to approach slowly, because Xiao Chen was too powerful, and the spell from too far away could not do anything to Xiao Chen. However, this did not have any effect, but it fulfilled Xiao Chen's classic battle. Xiao Chen keenly grasped the opportunity of the battle. His tall and straight body seemed to be floating in the sky, leaving an afterimage in the forest. Xiao Chen turned into a ray of light, rushed towards a towering ancient tree, and then jumped up. Under the inconceivable eyes of many young heroes watching the battle, Xiao Chen stepped on the void and ran quickly in the air, turning into a ray of light, leaving a few afterimages, stepped on Demon's body, and then stepped on Demon's body hard. Demon screamed, carrying Xiao Chen, and fell down. Boom! When he fell to the ground, most of the bones of the blonde cursor Demancy were broken. Xiao Chen waved his right hand back lightly, and strode away without looking back. This is so shocking, it can be called a classic battle. It is unbelievable that a curse master who can fly in the air is stepped into the void by a warrior, and it will become a classic teaching material for warriors to fight against curse masters. Many spectators couldn't help shouting. Many alliances were interested in recruiting Xiao Chen, and many people were ready to talk to him. A splendid battle came to an end, and many people were talking about it. This was the first legal battle after the establishment of the alliance, and it was also an extremely exciting battle. Xiao Chen inevitably defeated the Dragon Island celebrity to the end. Many people extended an olive branch to him, but Xiao Chen politely refused, because he didn't want to be tied to a certain alliance. He is fully aware of what happened recently. He knew that Long Island would be exciting and cruel. As far as an individual is concerned, if the strength is strong enough, you may be able to get everything, but if you are not strong enough, you may be full of all kinds of dangers. He has already heard that there are outstanding beauty cultivators who recommend themselves to the founders of certain alliances. And just today, he himself realized that there was a charming and sexy female cultivator who extended a pink peach branch to him. Xiao Chen is a normal man, beautiful women are also tempting to him, but he refuses. He clearly understands what he should do now. In the dangerous Dragon Island, the first thing to do is to work hard to improve one's cultivation. As for the others, there will be opportunities in the future. After the war, Xiao Chen was very calm. Long Island full of danger and excitement was not scary to him, on the contrary, it might be full of opportunities and challenges. Some people are happy, and naturally some are angry. At this moment, the natural alliance created by Yulad can be described as full of resentment. The same is true for Tree People Valley. How could Zhao Liner be happy? In the Undead Alliance, Rand was very surprised when he heard the news. Neither he nor Yan Qingcheng went to watch the battle. He didn't believe that Kaio would be defeated by Xiao Chen. Standing in front of the magnificent waterfall, Yan Qingcheng, who is peerless and magnificent, also showed a slight look of surprise. Xiao Chen's strength exceeded her expectations. Rand, a handsome blonde man, gradually showed a cold smile on his face, and said, "Interesting guy, I want to try his skills myself." Don't act rashly. Judging from the rumors, even if you beat him, it will be very difficult. He is very good at concealing his true cultivation. Yan Qingcheng's face is peerless, like a dream. HMPH, he's covering up, and I'm also holding back. Chapter 55 Private Friendship. There are many alliances on Dragon Island, and Xiao Chen doesn't want to fight alone. He doesn't say that he must join a certain alliance, but at least he must make good friends with some people so that he can take care of each other in the future. He wanted to visit Monk Yijun in secret. This time Xiao Chen was extra careful, passing through the lush old forest without disturbing anyone, and appeared on a beautiful mountain. This is the location of the Bodhidharma Alliance. Near the mountains with excellent scenery, there are dots of wooden houses hidden in the mountains and forests. It is very artistic, like the secluded place of a master who is out of the world. Relying entirely on an instinctive spiritual sense, Xiao Chen walked towards a wooden house, and the door of the wooden house was open tens of meters away. Monk Yijun has very keen spiritual sense. At the same time, the door of a wooden house not far away was also pushed open, and another young monk stood leaning against the door. Xiao Chen knew that it must be the brother Yijun mentioned many times. "Xiao Chen, I knew you would come to me." Monk Yijun laughed. The gray-clothed monk who approached was indeed his senior brother, and his Dharma name was Yiji. Monk Yiji is just like Yijun. He doesn't call Xiao Chen a benefactor, and he doesn't call himself a poor monk. Although he is a monk, his etiquette is the same as that of ordinary people. The two young monks were very kind, and Yijun smiled and said, "You are a celebrity now." Xiao Chen's various, self-protection actions, really turned him into a celebrity, and directly burned the Shuren Valley, making Zhao Liner and others gritted their teeth at him. Today, the fight against Kaio is the first legalized battle, which is particularly eye-catching. Then he stepped the cursor demons into the void, and more than a dozen alliances were amazed. "How about joining us here? Aren't you afraid that I will cause you big trouble?" Xiao Chen said with a smile, "You know, I have offended many people. The people in Shuren Valley have a grudge against me, and Arid and Kaio are also in the same situation as me." The idiot monk next to him laughed, and said, "We heard the rumors. Today you beat Kaio, and the barbarian madman you beat was terrified, and you stepped on the curse master Demansi, and you won easily. You really are a master." Kazuma said with a smile, "Unexpectedly, I was wrong sometimes. I was worried about you before. I didn't expect that you can completely suppress Kaio. You don't have to worry so much when you join us." Xiao Chen shook his head with a smile, and said, "I don't want to cause trouble for you. I appreciate your kindness. We didn't take you in kindly, because you have enough combat power and qualifications to join us." The two young monks were very frank, without the slightest affectation, and directly stated that they valued his combat power. Xiao Chen likes to deal with such people, and said bluntly, "The troubles I caused are far more than you know. If you don't mind, we can take care of each other in private. Although I didn't join on the surface, if you have a crisis, I will definitely help you. Similarly, if I encounter disasters, I hope you will help. In this way, if we form an alliance, we will not cause trouble for you because of me." Monk Yijun and Yichi laughed at the same time, and readily agreed. This was the best suggestion for them. There is one thing that Xiao Chen wants to confirm, otherwise he will have trouble sleeping and eating. He really wanted to know if the young man transformed from a tree man in the Valley of the Tree People had come together with Zhao Liner and the others. He had a deep taboo against that tree man who exuded the aura of a fierce dragon. Monk Yijun actually knew the existence of the tree man. That was the news from Arid, saying that he could not see through the depth of the tree man. As a result, many alliances have scruples about Shuren Valley. However, it is said that the powerful tree man is practicing alone, and no one is allowed to enter the depths of the valley, and under his restraint, several tree men are not allowed to leave the Tree Man Valley without permission. Hearing this news, Xiao Chen's worries disappeared. Brother Yijun, I want to know, what is the relationship between Yan Qingcheng and his senior brothers and sisters? Xiao Chen asked for a reason. The foundation left by the undead evil king in the human world, the sects have always been fighting each other, full of competition, and many brothers and sisters are in the same situation. He really wanted to know if this situation still existed in the longevity realm. If so, the matter of him killing Wang Zifeng and Lu Yu might be uncovered. They seem to be at odds with each other, and they are full of strife, otherwise Yan Qingcheng would not have cooperated with Rand and abandoned her brothers and sisters. Monk Yijun answered his question, but felt a little strange, and asked, "Why are you asking this?" "It's hard to say. Since the two brothers are asking each other, I can't hide it. I completely trust you. No matter whether you trust or not, Xiao Chen must express his attitude in words. I once killed Wang Zifeng and Lu Yu." "What? Real?" A real monk and a crazy monk were surprised. Xiao Chen briefly explained what happened. If Zhao Liner didn't know about it, he could have made it an unsolved case forever. Now, he has to deal with it properly as soon as possible, otherwise Zhao Liner will tell Yan Qingcheng, and he will definitely plant a disaster. Since Yan Qingcheng was at odds with his senior brothers and sisters, he wanted to use Monk Yijun to help resolve this matter. It's not that Xiao Chen is weak and timid, he won't and doesn't bother to compromise with the enemies he has identified, but he wants to try to resolve those who appear to be enemies but not enemies. No one is willing to make enemies everywhere. Xiao Chen is not a lunatic who only knows how to kill. The current situation is complicated, and he wants to reduce the number of enemies as much as possible. However, once the resolution fails and he is positioned as an enemy, he will be as merciless as he was with Kaio and others. In fact, from the bottom of his heart, Xiao Chen really wanted to have a decisive battle with Yan Qingcheng and Rand. He was once extremely despised by the two of them, and he really wanted to suppress them with absolute force and smash their arrogant and conceited mentality. After listening to the brief story, Monk Yichi sighed. When the time comes to strike, brother Xiao Chen is really decisive. Otherwise, considering the cultivation base of those two, you may be hard to resist. What Ye Kai said was not empty words. Both Wang Zifeng and Lu Yu's cultivation bases were very strong. If Xiao Chen hadn't used the huge sound wave of the Tyrannosaurus to penetrate his ears decisively, the consequences would be hard to predict. Yijun understood Xiao Chen's meaning, smiled and said to him, "Let me try it." But Yan Qingcheng is very assertive, and it is difficult for others to influence her thoughts. Although she is hostile to her senior brothers and sisters, she is from the same sect after all. This involves the issue of the dignity of the sect. "I'm sorry, Brother Yijun." Xiao Chen didn't expect to completely resolve it, and if he couldn't, he would fight. Backing off is never the best way to resolve conflicts. The more effective way is to fight until the opponent trembles. Of course, the premise is that you have that kind of strength. When Xiao Chen bid farewell to his brother Yijun, he was walking in this area surrounded by many alliances. In an empty woodland, several cultivators were discussing. It seemed that an alliance wanted to fight Xiao Chen decisively. An alliance is limited to 10 people, and it would be too bullying to challenge one person. Chapter 56 Promotion to the Fifth Heaven. The few people in the forest recognized Xiao Chen, and gathered together to tell him the news. Xiao Chen directly said without thinking, "I refuse to fight that shameless alliance." Xiao Chen hurriedly left the forest area, got rid of a few followers, and ran all the way west, returning to the place of hermitage. Kiki curled up into a snow-white pom-pom, sleeping soundly among the flowers and plants. The sacred seedlings took root among the flowers next to it, surrounded by colorful rays of light, which set off the fluffy Kiki with incomparable laziness. The 3 skeletons practiced quietly in the stone cave, and the lotus brand on the forehead bone was shining brilliantly. Xiao Chen didn't disturb them, and scratched in the open area of the valley alone. He marked the topographical map of the outskirts of Dragon Island on the ground: Tyrannosaurus territory, Evil Dragon Beach, Snake Elephant Dragon Valley. Later, he added the Death Swamp, and there was an undead king in it, which was far from something he could provoke. Then, he added the Tree Man Valley. The old Tree Man in the depths of the valley had transformed into a human being, a strong man comparable to a fierce dragon, and he could not be provoked. These are the few forbidden places that cannot be violated on the periphery of the island. And dozens of alliances are distributed between these areas, none of which have entered the depths of the island. Xiao Chen pondered for a long time. Long Island, which is full of dangers and challenges, is also full of opportunities. Maybe he should go deep into the island, maybe he can get the dragon eggs, maybe he should form an alliance and recruit a group of masters, maybe. Xiao Chen took out the nectar of life hidden in the valley. The brilliant life brilliance circulated in his palm, and the crystal-clear nectar of life crystallized, condensing the endless essence of life. Originally he was reserved for life-saving, and taking it when he was seriously injured would definitely have the effect of bringing the dead back to life, but now he felt that he should integrate into his body as soon as possible to improve his strength. For Long Island, which is full of crises, strength is the foundation. The crystal-clear nectar of life was held in Xiao Chen's palm, and when he performed the profound art, it turned into a brilliant radiance and enveloped him. Brilliant lights of life rushed into his body. This is the purest energy of life, without any impurities, and it blends with his body like water and milk #blending. Looking from a distance, a piece of brilliant divine light overwhelmed his figure, and the dazzling light caused a strong aura to fluctuate in the valley. Kiki was awakened, and ran over curiously, wandering around Xiao Chen. 3 skeletons came out of the cave in the distance, and they also came to look at Xiao Chen, who was submerged in the sun. Starting from the setting sun, until the sky was full of stars, and then continued until midnight, Xiao Chen's body was shrouded in bright light all the time. KK yawned again and again, twisted her chubby body, curled up among the flowers and plants, and began to have a sweet dream again. The 3 skeletons sat around and practiced quietly, acting as protectors for Xiao Chen. It wasn't until the middle of the night that the divine light outside Xiao Chen's body completely subsided, the stars were shining brightly, and the moonlight was as hazy as water. The huge energy of life was deprived again, and most of it gathered in Xiao Chen's left shoulder well point. At the beginning, he tried it slowly, feeling that the vitality of life had indeed gathered between the flesh and viscera, and then he began to run the profound art with all his strength, absorbing the essence of the nectar of life crystallization. However, later on, the speed of Shuangong's operation became faster and faster, beyond his control, and the left shoulder well point was like a bottomless pit, depriving itself of a huge essence of life. So much so that later, most of the life essence gathered into the Zhongjing point, condensing into a bright spot, and the left Zhongjing point was deified. It can only be said that the qi refining formula on the ancient god tablet is too mysterious and overbearing. However, part of the huge life essence poured into Xiao Chen's flesh and blood. He clearly felt the improvement of his cultivation, his skin shone with crystal brilliance, his body seemed to have been tempered once, every inch of skin contained powerful power, and his body seemed much lighter. With a wave of Xiao Chen's hand, a gorgeous light shot up into the sky, as if to connect with the stars in the sky. The dazzling sword light was extraordinarily bright in the night sky. He knew that he had broken into the 5th heaven of the realm of transformation. A big step forward on the road of cultivation. Xiao Chen gradually calmed down. This was a rewarding night. In addition to his cultivation being raised to the 5th heaven, the 4 acupoints on his left foot Shangqiu, right foot Shangqiu, chest Zongding, and left shoulder Zhongjing have been deified. He expects more acupoints to be deified. With his cultivation base reaching the 5th level of the mortal state, coupled with the exuberant life essence, Xiao Chen is full of strong self-confidence. On this dangerous dragon island, only the strong can be fearless. The morning sun was very soft, and Kiki, who had had enough sleep, woke up early, rolling around among the flowers and plants. Her snow-white fur shone with a faint brilliance, and her pair of bright big eyes were full of aura. However, when the aroma of barbecue began to permeate the valley, Kiki showed a pitiful expression, touched her round belly with her little animal claws, and looked eagerly at Xiao Chen, who was having breakfast not far away, so greedy that her saliva was about to flow out. Painfully covering his big bright eyes with a pair of small animal claws, he tried his best to bury himself among the flowers and plants, not to look at the golden, oily delicacy that made him salivate. KK, come here, eat less. Xiao Chen looked funny and deliberately teased it. Yi, Kiki protested ferociously, waving her snow-white little animal claws. Xiao Chen smiled, this little guy is really interesting. The 3 skeletons were cultivating in a stone cave not far away. After making some breakthroughs in their cultivation recently, he seemed to have discovered the true meaning of cultivation. The lotus brand on the forehead bone was shining brightly, and could guide the essence of heaven and earth to gather towards them. After enjoying breakfast, Xiao Chen left the valley and started on the road alone again. After passing through many primitive forests, Xiao Chen came to the Bodhidharma Alliance again. On the beautiful mountains, wooden houses, sunrise, flowers, morning dew, everything is so harmonious. However, when I saw 2 young monks enjoying the roast leg of lamb, the feeling just disappeared. Seeing Xiao Chen's surprised look, Monk Yijun and Monk Yiji laughed, and Yijun said, the longevity realm is different from the human world. You should have felt it. Although we are monks, everything is the same as ordinary people. In the longevity realm, we emphasize practice and despise teachings. Xiao Chen nodded and smiled wordlessly. Two young monks, beside the gurgling clear spring, washed the oil stains between their hands, giving people a feeling of being supernatural and refined. The two are not pretentious, everything seems to come from the heart, eat meat without scruples, and talk about the teachings without taboo. Perhaps this in itself already represents a kind of Zen state. Chapter 57 The Vengeance Alliance. Monk Yijun said, I met Yan Qingcheng last night, and I wanted to talk about the matter between Wang Zifeng and Lu Yu, but for some reason she cleverly changed the subject and didn't give me a chance to explain. Is that so? Xiao Chen said thoughtfully, it seems that she already knows. She doesn't want you to be caught in the middle. Maybe that's the case, but when we talked about you, she didn't show too much hostility, and everything seemed to be very flat. Now, it is not sure whether she is going to take action against you. Everything is very delicate at the moment. Thank you, Brother Yijun, I understand. The current situation on Long Island is very complicated, and many things need to be watched. Xiao Chen and Yijun are not stupid people, and many things need not be said too much. The figure in the wooden house in the distance swayed. It was a member of the Bodhidharma Alliance, and someone was practicing in the forest. The idiot monk seemed to have remembered something, and reminded, Xiao Chen, you have to be careful, there is an alliance that wants to challenge you, it seems crazy. What alliance? Xiao Chen heard about it yesterday, but didn't ask in detail which camp it was. The Vengeance Alliance. What, revenge? Xiao Chen felt a little weird, could it be revenge on him? He couldn't help asking, who is their founder? It seems that the name is Ji Yu Luo, and he is a one-armed man. The idiot monk said. It really is him. When Xiao Chen heard this name, he already had a premonition that it might be Ji Yu Luo. Last time, during the battle in the Death Swamp, when Ji Yu Luo was about to escape, Xiao Chen threw a sword and amputated his arm and was severely injured. After 3 days of darkness, he survived the big reshuffle, and now he has formed an alliance named Revenge, and the spearhead is directed at Xiao Chen. Do the two senior brothers know the strength of this alliance? Are there some powerful figures among them? The Yijun monk next to him recalled carefully. The founder, Ji Yu Luo, has the cultivation level of the third heaven of transformation, but due to the lack of an arm, his cultivation will be greatly reduced. In addition, the spirit man Li Lingfeng, and the curse master Carter, both of them are in the third heaven of transformation. Among the other 7 people, 3 are barely hovering near the realm of transformation, 2 are in the realm of first transformation, and 2 are in the second realm of transformation. In addition to Ji Yu Luo, there are actually 2 masters in the realm of the third heaven. This is indeed a powerful force. At the same time, Xiao Chen was a little surprised. How could anyone be willing to be inferior to others? Ji Yu Luo was already disabled. How could those 2 masters who had reached the third level of transformation join the alliance he created? And if Ji Yu Luo wanted revenge, there was absolutely no need for those people to get involved. Yijun laughed, and said, the Vengeance Alliance was formed temporarily. Spiritualist Li Lingfeng came from Tree People's Valley, and Curse Master Carter came from the Natural Alliance formed by Arod. These 2 joined the Vengeance Alliance temporarily after quitting the original alliance. Everything is clear, the Vengeance Alliance was created against Xiao Chen, and the 2 masters were transferred there. Xiao Chen began to think seriously. Now that his cultivation has reached the 5th level of transformation, can he be crazy once? If he kills an alliance in one fell swoop, his influence may increase rapidly. If he wants to form an alliance in the future, he will definitely be able to recruit a group of real masters. In this way, it will have a strong deterrent effect. What are you thinking? Don't you want to take risks? Monk Yijun seemed to see what he was thinking. I really want to try to build my prestige in one battle, so as not to be disturbed by others. Xiao Chen explained in this way, although he also had a hint of intention to form an alliance in his heart, but he couldn't say it yet. You have to face 10 masters alone, it's too risky, you can completely refuse. Monk Yi Kai also dissuaded. No, I decided to take a risk. Xiao Chen made up his mind. The Vengeance Alliance and Xiao Chen will have a decisive battle. Xiao Chen is going to challenge an alliance alone. The news spread quickly, and it was extremely sensational news. All the cultivators in this area were alarmed, and many alliances in the distance also rushed here quickly after hearing the news. After all, this is too amazing. To fight against an alliance with one's own strength, if you are not very confident in your own strength, then you are an arrogant lunatic. The extremely sensational news quickly spread to many alliances. Xiao Chen, a celebrity on Dragon Island, couldn't be more memorable. Ji Yu Luo appeared, with only his left arm left, his face was a little pale, his eyes became colder, and his expression was extremely indifferent. 9 people followed behind him, 2 of them were obviously different, and they seemed to be contemptuous of Ji Luo. Anyone who knows the inside story can guess that the 2 must be the spirit man Li Lingfeng and the cursor Carter. They are from the Tree People Valley and the Natural Alliance respectively, and they were temporarily airborne to the Vengeance Alliance. Afterwards, Xiao Chen appeared without the slightest nervousness. Under the watchful eyes of many masters, he seemed to be strolling in front of Ji Luo and the others. Now, the vast majority of the people on Long Island are young people in their 20s, among them there are many beauties with beautiful looks, and there are even a few people who are extremely beautiful and beautiful. At this moment, at least 24 alliances felt the scene, and there were more than 200 people, accounting for 1/3 of the people on Long Island, and more people were rushing here. Is he Xiao Chen? His name is often heard. This is the Dragon Island celebrity. I finally saw this madman. This guy is such a lunatic, he dares to challenge an alliance alone. Tall and handsome, looks good. Stop being an idiot. ... Everyone was talking about it, whether it was a male cultivator or a female cultivator, everyone's eyes were on Xiao Chen, and there were endless discussions about him. In the last decisive battle with Kaio, there were only more than 100 people present to watch, but this time, there were more than 200 people at the beginning, and this time it broke through to more than 300 people. HMPH. Ji Luo snorted coldly, with undisguised resentment in his eyes. Xiao Chen was very calm, and said, "Don't think that you are a victim, you should be very clear that you were the first to encircle and suppress me. If you make a mistake, you will have to pay the price." Chapter 58. Ji Luo looked at Xiao Chen with dark eyes and resentment, and said, "Since you have agreed to a decisive battle, let's face each other with life and death." It's useless to say more. Xiao Chen nodded, and then seemed to think of something, said, "I face 10 of you alone, I can't fight you head-on, if I go around the whole Dragon Island to fight with you gorilla, the battle line seems too long. Let's make a compromise, how about choosing a closed valley to start the war?" But God knows if he really dare not fight head-on. In Ji Luo's plan, he was going to face Xiao Chen head-on, but according to Xiao Chen's meaning, it seemed that he was going to run away and fight, which made him feel very inappropriate. Hearing that kind of compromise strategy, he immediately agreed. In the closed valley, the Vengeance Alliance can come and catch a turtle in a jar. Xiao Chen turned around and faced many alliances watching the battle, and shouted, "We will choose a closed valley for a decisive battle, the area is not big or small." He quickly expressed his meaning. The mountains in Longdao are undulating, and there is no shortage of valleys, so they quickly found a suitable place. The horizontal and vertical lengths of the valley are 3 or 4 miles each. The trees in the valley are verdant and full of vitality. It is not bad as a battlefield of life and death. Many alliances specially chose a valley where the trees are not very dense, so as to avoid being unable to see the wonderful battle due to the obstruction of the lush trees. Standing above the valley, his eyes can clearly capture everything inside, but this seems a bit unfair to Xiao Chen, who said he doesn't want to fight recklessly. After all, reasonable terrain cover is more important for a single person. The battle had already begun, and Xiao Chen's performance surprised everyone. He didn't adopt guerrilla tactics, but rushed towards Ji Luo people from the beginning. At this moment, Xiao Chen's body was shrouded in a bright divine light, like a raging flame, his whole body was full of high fighting spirit, murderous aura filled the forest, the leaves in the forest were withered by an invisible murderous aura, and the green leaves all over the sky were falling. Shocking powerful momentum, shocking scene, the two sides rushed together, with a few meters away, Xiao Chen's hands were like knives, shining brightly, and swung them violently. Two unparalleled sharp edges, like bright rainbow lights, flew across the air, and swept across the neck of a member of the Vengeance Alliance in an instant. Absolute shock. As soon as Xiao Chenshi came up, he killed a master in the opponent's camp, like an invincible killer, his long black hair danced wildly without wind. Ji Luo, spiritualist Li Lingfeng, and Curse Master Carter launched fierce attacks one after another, charging towards Xiao Chen with energy rages that exuded endless killing intent. He left an afterimage in place and quickly disappeared. Then, a dazzling light blasted from another direction, and a large area of trees collapsed in an instant, and the terrifying light flooded it. The fifth heaven of the mortal realm. This is an overwhelming advantage, making Xiao Chen as terrifying as a god of war. The two masters at the front of Ji Luo's side vomited blood and retreated. One of them just stepped back 5 steps, and the whole person suddenly fell apart, and it collapsed in an instant. As for the other person, when he stepped back 7 steps away, his whole body's bones were broken, and he fell limply on the ground, his eyes were full of horror until he died. All of this was really too fast. It wasn't long before the fight, and Ji Yuluo's side lost 3 people. This is a terrible result. One person singled out an alliance, and they came up and overwhelmed everyone. There was an uproar above the valley, and everyone was very surprised. Xiao Chen was like a killing god, possessing overwhelming and terrifying power. In the valley, Xiao Chen withdrew his power of the 5th heaven, and after a brief flash in the pan, he transitioned to the realm of the 4th heaven of transformation very naturally. Almost no one noticed this change of power, thinking that Xiao Chen had always been in the 4th heaven of transformation. Everyone get together, don't separate. Ji Yuluo yelled. At this moment, he felt a little cold in his heart. Xiao Chen is too scary, choosing to fight in the valley is a conspiracy. Where Xiao Chen didn't dare to fight head-on, but was afraid that after showing a deterrent force, Ji Yuluo and others fled out of fear, and it was difficult to wipe them out. The many alliances watching the battle in the valley now saw the reason why he chose the valley battle. In fact, this is indeed the case. Xiao Chen now has the power of the 5th heaven, and is not afraid of this revenge alliance at all. However, now he is showing the power of the 4 heavens, he wants to keep a mystery, and give the opponent a surprise when necessary. Ji Yuluo stood with his sword in his hand, and the sword's glow fluctuated. Now that there is no scroll available, he can only rely on his true cultivation to fight. Spiritualist Li Lingfeng floated in the air, with blue light surging all over his body, raising his spiritual power to the limit. Curse Master Carter was also in midair, chanting spells continuously, and the fierce spell energy attack was about to land. But at this time, Xiao Chen quickly disappeared. He kept changing his position in the forest, and began to kill people other than these 3 masters. He decided to deal with those few cultivators with weaker cultivation bases first, and then deal with Carter and Li Lingfeng who were able to fly in the air with all their strength. Ji Yuluo, Carter, and Li Lingfeng started to attack with all their strength, not wanting to be wiped out by Xiao Chen one by one. After Carter finished reciting the spell, terrifying thunderbolts struck down wildly, chasing Xiao Chen, and at the same time, energy light blades shrouded down like a meteor shower. Xiao Chen shifted shape and changed positions, leaving afterimages on the ground, dodging spell energy attacks one after another, chasing and killing several other cultivators. Spiritualists are born with innate spiritual power, which can be cultivated to form various supernatural powers. Now, Li Lingfeng is using a powerful ability to try to imprison Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen really felt restrained, his body gradually became heavy like a mountain, and it was almost difficult to move a step, and his movements became extremely slow. If it wasn't for the protection of the jumping divine flames outside his body, he might have been torn apart by the meteor shower like energy light blades dropped by Carter. Ah! Xiao Chen roared, his whole body shook, the mysterious power imprisoned on his body disappeared, but Li Lingfeng, the spiritual man in the air, suffered a backlash and spit out a mouthful of blood. He is indeed powerful, but the person he wants to attack is a cultivator who has transformed into the 5th heaven realm, which is 2 heavens higher than him. In just a quarter of an hour, Xiao Chen killed 6 cultivators from the Vengeance Alliance. Except for Ji Yuluo, Li Lingfeng, and Carter who were confronting him at the scene, there was also a cultivator who fled into the depths of the valley. Now is the time to settle the grievances with Ji Yuluo. Chapter 59. Xiao Chen strode forward, and the whole forest trembled. He was as heavy as a giant, and the powerful coercion made the 3 of Ji Yuluo palpitate, almost out of breath. Ji Yuluo was extremely terrified in his heart. He had already expected that his life might end, but he still struggled with all his strength like a trapped animal. Xiao Chen's body radiated bright divine light, leaving afterimages in the forest, dodging the attacks of Spirit Man Li Lingfeng and Cursor Carter, and kept appearing around Ji Yuluo. Ah! Ji Yuluo roared, and rushed towards Xiao Chen. The surrounding trees collapsed in an instant, and he raised his strength to the limit, intending to hit Xiao Chen severely. However, as a bright divine light shot up into the sky, all Ji Yuluo's efforts failed. Xiao Chen swung his right arm violently like a heavenly knife, and the several-meter-long brilliant divine light passed across the sky. The upper half of the body flew out for a full dozen meters, bringing up a large spray of blood, and the last 2 corpses fell among the broken branches and leaves. Ji Yuluo's life is ended. The founder of the Vengeance Alliance has fallen, which means that Xiao Chen has successfully challenged an alliance alone and won. A cry of exclamation erupted from above the valley. This was a cruel and intense battle. Everyone felt Xiao Chen's strength and terror, and let out bursts of cries. But the battle is not over yet. The fierce battle between Xiao Chen, Spirit Man Li Lingfeng, and Curse Master Carter is still going on. Brilliant rays of light continuously bombarded the woodland, thunder and lightning, light blades, ghost black fire, various spells attacked continuously. Carter tried his best, and the energy rages followed one after another. Spiritualist Li Lingfeng also continued to show his abilities. After the failure of the confinement technique, he used his powerful spiritual power to create various illusions in the valley. He wanted to lead Xiao Chen into a dangerous situation, and even controlled his spiritual power to form a huge lightsaber, cutting horizontally and vertically in the valley. The battle lasted for a long time. Xiao Chen cast mysterious and unpredictable magic seals one after another. The light of stars shone around his body. The light curtain formed by a gorgeous star map was unbreakable, helping him completely block the attack from the sky. As for all kinds of spiritual illusions, they didn't have much impact on Xiao Chen's strong mind. When Xiao Chen raised his power from the fourth heaven to the fifth heaven, a gorgeous sword light shot up into the sky. Xiao Chen's hands sparked a brilliant light, and the unparalleled sword light pierced through the body of the cursor Carter, who passed across the sky in an instant, and another radiant sword light directly cut off the body of the spirit man Li Lingfeng. 2 corpses fell down, and the fierce battle ended. The power of the 5 heavens of metamorphosis has an overwhelming advantage. It is impossible to defend against the sudden killer. It immediately eliminated the 2 powerful enemies. Xiao Chen singled out an alliance and succeeded. This surprised many alliances in the valley, and many spectators felt excited as if they were there, as if they had personally experienced a bloody battle and successfully challenged the alliance alone. There are cheers, roars, shouts. There is a hustle and bustle above the valley. Xiao Chen did not leave the valley, but walked towards the depths of the valley. Many alliances in the valley were paying attention, and everyone felt very strange, but soon realized that there was still one member of the Vengeance Alliance alive, and entered the depths of the valley. It's just a small character, is it necessary to kill it? Soon, everyone was surprised to find that they were very wrong, and it was definitely not a small character. A fierce battle broke out. When he first entered this valley to fight with Ji Luo and the others, Xiao Chen found that that person seemed unusual. He killed several other people with weaker cultivation bases, but this person escaped. Sure enough, after getting rid of the other people and entering the depths of the valley, he found that the person had been waiting for him for a long time. Without any extra words, the battle broke out fiercely, and that man turned out to be a terrifying curse master. Afterwards, Xiao Chen was surprised to find that the man with disheveled hair covering most of his face turned out to be Rand, who was with Yan Qingcheng. He had already dyed his golden hair into gray-black with charcoal ash, and Ruyu's cheeks were also dyed maroon with grass juice. In addition, his hair was disheveled to cover his face. Xiao Chen really didn't notice it was him before, and he never thought that he would make a move. A handsome blonde man who was as dazzling as the scorching sun would actually dress himself up like this. Rand, why did you shoot at me? I am willing, I like it. Rand was still extremely arrogant and extremely conceited, and he didn't bother to explain more. HMPH, I hope you can still be so conceited when the battle is over. Xiao Chen has nothing to be afraid of. Since Rand came to him, he was as conceited and contemptuous as before, so there is nothing to say now. All he has to do is to suppress him with absolute force and smash his arrogance and conceit. The radiant light erupted in the woodland, and the gorgeous light seemed to be surging like a raging sea. A large mountain forest was rapidly collapsing, and the endless light flooded there. That is by no means the energy fluctuations that a cultivator who has transformed into the third heaven can burst out. Masters who have transformed into the fourth heaven and above are fighting. Many alliances, many masters who watched the battle all eat it as incomparable. The battle was extremely fierce. In the valley, the rocks pierced through the sky, the giant trees kept falling, and the dazzling light burst out one after another. From time to time, the whole giant tree was uprooted, went up against the sky, and collapsed in midair. The last person in the Vengeance Alliance is the real soul, and he is the most terrifying master. He actually fought against Xiao Chen non-stop, making everyone watching the battle look very solemn. However, Rand was too big. When the battle was stalemate, he kept diving from high altitude to the ground, and bombarded Xiao Chen at close range with violent spell energy. The sky was full of bright light, and the terrifying energy descended mightily. And at this moment, Xiao Chen showed his full strength, directly raised his power to the realm of the fifth heaven, and the domineering light of destruction rose against the sky, and the gorgeous light swept Rand down. Chapter 60 Absolutely overwhelming. Rand yelled badly, and kept chanting spells, terrifying purple lightning and black flames overwhelming the sky, trying to break free from Xiao Chen's shackles. However, he was surprised to find that it was the power of the fifth heaven, steadily suppressing the spell energy of his fourth heaven. with an overwhelming advantage. For a curse master, being caught by a warrior would be a devastating disaster. Their melee combat ability is too poor, and their bodies are too weak compared to warriors. Long-distance attack is their best attack method. Rand didn't want to die. He knew that Xiao Chen was ruthless in his actions, and now he had to cast a life-saving spell that consumed a lot of life energy. Holy armor, protect my body. Dazzling rays of light erupted from Rand's body, and the bright rays of light condensed into a materialized sacred armor, wrapping his whole body inside and protecting him tightly. At the same time, Xiao Chen rolled him to the ground, and kicked him hard on the head with an extremely arrogant and contemptuous attack, a sweep that rotated 360 degrees. Even with the protection of the holy armor, Rand still groaned in pain, and kicked him more than 10 meters with a fierce spinning kick, which made Rand dizzy and almost fell over among the broken branches and leaves. Before he soared into the sky, Xiao Chen had already stepped on the void, and then swept down with another leg, smashing him to the ground. Xiao Chen stepped hard on his chest, and kicked him violently on the ground, rolling him out. The sacred armor was almost shattered by the kick, and the energy light flickered violently. Rand felt that 2 ribs were broken, and the pain made him almost scream. The handsome blonde man, the powerful cursor Rand, has never been treated like this. This is no longer fighting, but being beaten. For him, this is a great shame. Xiao Chen is wild, surrounded by terrifying light, his long hair fluttered wildly, exuding a fearless and powerful aura. He grabbed Rand up, and then punched him straight, uppercut, swinging, splitting, hanging. After a set of fierce combination punches, Rand had already been beaten for more than 20 meters. During this process, Xiao Chen followed closely and punched continuously. Without the holy armor, Rand would have been smashed to pieces, and even his flesh and blood would have turned into gore. Even so, the unparalleled power still penetrated into the light armor, causing at least 15 of his bones to break. This is a violent beating. No, it has already gone beyond the scope of beating. This is violent torture. Rand, who used to be extremely conceited, now has a feeling of madness. It can be said that he asked for all this. He wanted to try Xiao Chen's 2 pounds, but he failed miserably and was beaten violently. Dignity was completely trampled on. Rand was extremely ashamed and angry. He used to be aloof and despised Xiao Chen, but now he was beaten violently. The contrast between before and after was so great that he almost fainted from anger. Kicking backwards in the air, spinning 360 degrees horizontally, kicking violently. Finally, Xiao Chen stepped on Rand's chest, shook his hand at Rand below, and said with a hint of contempt, "No, okay." Responding to the previous contempt with such a gesture made Rand want to hit his head on the ground, ashamed, annoyed, and angry. His self-esteem was severely trampled, and he was completely defeated. Xiao Chen decided to make a killer. He didn't believe that the holy armor couldn't be broken by a bomb. If Yan Qingcheng wants to avenge Rand in the future, just come. Right now, he doesn't want this great enemy to live anymore. Since the battle has reached this point today, letting Rand go will be a deadly enemy in the future. Rand didn't want to die. Everyone had a strong desire to survive at the most dangerous moment. He did not hesitate to take the risk of spending half his life to escape from here. A taboo spell was cast out to forcibly draw away the energy of life to replenish the sacred armor, and a splendid divine light burst out. His body is as dazzling as a golden sun. He struggled violently under Xiao Chen's feet. Xiao Chen was determined to kill, and vowed to kill Rand. Under the violent bombardment, he was directly driven into the broken ground, but these methods did not crush Rand. He seemed to be wearing the shell of a tortoise. Beat. With merciless shots, although Xiao Chen couldn't break through the light curtain, he still kept shooting. His feet stomped deeply into the deep earth and rocks. Terrible power penetrated into the light curtain continuously, and Rand's bones broke again. Rand was so angry that he wanted to commit suicide. Finally burning the energy of life, he rushed into the depths of the ground by himself, then pierced through a cave, rushed out from the surface not far away, and flew into the sky, like a meteor, pierced the sky and fled away. That was burning the source of life. Unable to catch up, Xiao Chen didn't do any useless work, quietly watching him disappear into the sky. He knew that even if Rand escaped, he would definitely be a cripple within half a year. The bones in his body were too broken, there was nothing to worry about. The disabled Rand will definitely taste the pain in the shadow of failure. This kind of spiritual torture is more depressing for a conceited cultivator than instantaneous defeat. This may be the greatest punishment for his previous pride and conceit. There are many alliances above the valley, and everyone watching the battle shouted, and everyone was boiling. This is a wonderful battle. Xiao Chen singled out the Vengeance Alliance and finally won. Many alliances took active actions to win over Xiao Chen. Such a tyrannical cultivator is definitely a sharp sword worth fighting for on Dragon Island. Xiao Chen strode out of the valley without looking back. After arriving at Taniguchi, he left afterimages in the forest and disappeared in front of everyone, trying to avoid the alliance that might win him over. However, it was clear that the founders of many alliances had anticipated that people kept stopping him in the distant mountains and forests, inviting him to join their alliances. Among them are some extremely powerful alliances, such as the Invincible Alliance, established by the descendants of Dugu Chubai, and the Flying Knife Alliance, established by the descendants of Li Zunwan. There are also beauty alliances, such as the Blue Rain Alliance. Its founder, Lan Yu, left a deep impression on Xiao Chen. This is a soft and gentle beautiful woman. Compared with the strength of Zhao Liner and Yan Qingchang, this is a soft and beautiful woman like water. There is also the Red-Pink Alliance. It is impossible for Xiao Chen to offend any family, all of them first thanked them for their invitation and then declined politely. In the end, Xiao Chen got rid of everyone and wanted to return to the hermitage. He had consumed too much vitality in this battle, and he was afraid of danger in this area for a long time. On the road, a beautiful woman with a world-beating beauty and a peerless beauty blocked his way. She was dressed in a fluttering purple dress, and her whole body was full of spiritual wisdom and ethereal aura. It turned out to be Yan Qingchang.